Inside the academy, everyone's attention was on Fang Yuan. Their expressions showed shock, fear, mockery, and callousness. Fang Yuan paid no attention to these people. He looked at the academy elder with a stern expression, with his finger pointing towards the fainted guard. Reporting to Elder, these two guards had impure motives, devious intentions. They broke into my room when I was at the crucial moment of breaking through into the middle stage. As everyone knows, a Gu master cultivating cannot be interrupted, especially so when one is trying to break through into higher realms. A moment of distraction would not only cause the breakthrough to fail, but their aperture would also get damaged. Thankfully, my luck was good, because at the moment where they barged in, I had already stepped into the middle stage. However, before the masses had reacted, Fang Yuan continued, "These two did not admit their mistakes earlier. To my surprise, they boasted shamelessly about wanting to get rough with me, even scolding our clan's ancestors, lying that the act of disturbing my cultivation was the esteemed elder's decision. Your student did not believe so and resisted furiously. These two had strong martial arts, and I had to fight for life before finally defeating these two people. But seeing as they were the academy guards, your student did not kill them immediately. I merely cut off one of his arms and the leg of the other person. Although there was quite some blood loss, they are still alive. That is my report for this matter. Please uphold justice for me, esteemed elder." Having said so, he cupped his fists towards the academy elder. His tone was urgent, saying a ton of information and leaving no room for others to interrupt. After he had finished, the surrounding people slowly started to react. "What did Fang Yuan say earlier? I did not catch it." "I think he said he advanced to the middle stage." "How is that possible? He is just a C-grade trash. To think that he actually advanced to the middle stage first." "He definitely lied. He is afraid of the academy's punishment, thus he lied." The students discussed loudly. When compared to Fang Yuan's advancement to the middle stage, the two guards' lives no longer mattered. They were not Gu Yue clan members. Who cares if they're dead or alive? "You said you advanced to rank 1 middle stage." The academy elder's voice was ice-cold, his expression unforgiving. "Fang Yuan, this is not a laughing matter. If you admit your wrongdoing now, I can still take into account that this is your first mistake and deal with you leniently. If you want to continue lying and attempting to cover up your mistakes, then I can tell you now, lies are easily seen through." Fang Yuan did not explain himself further. He laughed lightly and said to the academy elder, "Please inspect, elder." Even without his words, the academy elder had already moved forward. He placed his hand on Fang Yuan's abdomen, placing a trace of his spirit into it. Immediately, he saw the inside of Fang Yuan's aperture. Within the aperture, there was no Gu. The spring-autumn cicada had already hidden itself. A rank 6 Gu is way superior than a rank 3 academy elder, so if it wanted to hide, it would not be found easily. As for the liquor worm, Fang Yuan had placed it into the dormitory's wine reserves and did not bring it along. The academy elder, with his eyes shut, could see a green-copper primeval sea, calm as still water. Drops of primeval essence inside were all emerald green colors of middle-stage primeval essence. Seeing the aperture walls, the white-colored aperture walls were glowing with reflected light as if they were all made of water. Gushes of water flow rapidly moved along the wall. Water wall. He really advanced to the middle stage. How is this possible? The academy elder shouted in his heart, a sign of shock under his calm expression. But he tried to hide it to the best of his ability, his face still expressionless. A moment later, after he had digested this fact, he drew back his hand, speaking in a solemn voice. "It is indeed middle stage." The students had been holding their breaths, awaiting the results. The academy elder's verdict caused a huge commotion in the academy. The students were full of bewilderment and shock, each of their faces showing immense disbelief. Fang Yuan was only a C grade, but yet he was the first to break through into the middle stage. This was against common sense. For a Gu master's cultivation and breaking through realms, the most important aspect should be talent. How is this possible? A C grade was the first to advance. How would this make those A grade, B grades feel? This, Gu Yue Fang Zheng's face was pale. He was still confident last night, but now that reality sat in front of him, he was unable to accept such a fact and fell to the ground. Gu Yue Moubei clenched his fists, and Gu Yue Kai-chen hatefully gritted his teeth. The academy elder could not be easily fooled, so how did Fang Yuan manage to do it? At once all the youngsters stared at Fang Yuan, having one question in their hearts. With that C-grade talent, how did he advance? The academy elder's heart was similarly full of doubt. Under such great empuzzlement, he ignored the idea of suppressing Fang Yuan and asked directly, "Fang Yuan, I hope you can explain this. How did you manage to advance to middle stage?" Fang Yuan laughed silently. Heaven rewards the hard-working, and as a result of students' persistent training, I managed to advance smoothly. Lies. Tisk, if heaven rewarded the hard-working, I'd be first long ago. Diligently studying and training. Some time ago, I still saw him strolling around the shop district. The students were evidently not satisfied with such an answer. Is that so? The academy elder replied neutrally, his gaze staring at Fang Yuan, emitting pressure. Fang Yuan's expression was candid, making eye contact with the elder without fear. His body was bathed in blood, his linen shirt messy, as if he had gone through an intense battle. A pair of black abyss-like eyes, showing a kind of peacefulness, indifference, and even hiding a hint of amusement. Seeing such a gaze, the academy elder's heart wavered. This Fang Yuan, he is not afraid, not fearful, not threatened, and not shocked. How can he be interrogated by me right here? With his C-grade talent being the first to advance to middle stage, there has to be a secret. But since he does not want to say it as the academy elder, I cannot forcefully interrogate him. It seems I can only investigate this privately. Thinking of this, the academy elder retracted his gaze, and his cold expression became milder. Fang Yuan, however, did not let the matter go. Your student is frightened, esteemed elder. How are you going to deal with these two guards? They have lost a lot of blood. If they are not treated soon, they might die. Frightened, you, the academy elder retorted in his mind. His brows frowned deeply. At this point, as the person in charge of the academy, he had to step forward and settle this. But how should I resolve this? The academy elder could not help but feel troubled. He silently began to think. Fang Yuan took all of the academy elder's change in expressions into consideration. He laughed internally. The academy elder must be really troubled now. These two guards, they were merely outsiders, their lives cheap as grass. In normal times, no one would care if they died. But now the situation was different. They were sent out by the academy elder. If they really died, the academy elder would lose his reputation. Thus, the guards could not die. The academy elder is going to save them. The part that truly troubles the academy elder is Fang Yuan's verdict. In his original plan, Fang Yuan first played truant and then killed the guards. This could be said to be defying his teachers, being arrogant and self-centered. According to the clan rules, he'd be thrown into the clan jail, reflecting upon his mistakes inside. But when adding in the matter of Fang Yuan's advancement to middle stage, these wrongdoings became very different. Fang Yuan played truant and killed the guards because he was cultivating. This was reasonable. The crucial part was, he was successful in advancing to the middle stage and became the first in this class. This allowed him to be on the side of reason. Just what did Fang Yuan rely on to advance to middle stage? This secret would be discussed later. Winners win all, losers lose all. The world only cares about result. No one would reprimand such an outstanding junior. The academy elder could not execute any punishments on him. What is the academy for? It is to nurture outstanding Gu masters and inject fresh blood into the clan. Now that we have such an aspiring young man, you as the academy elder still wants to find trouble with him. That would be neglecting your role. Just like a student who got good results, as a teacher he should be encouraging and praising him, instead of punishing and criticizing. A teacher who punishes and scolds a student for his good results is not one that would ever be recognized. Perhaps the other elders would secretly cause problems for Fang Yuan because they fear Fang Yuan's future prospects, or because of grudges and past grievances. But him alone, the esteemed academy elder, cannot do such a thing. Because he is in charge of the academy, he has to be impartial, at least on the surface. These are the rules. Do I just let him go like this? It was not easy finding a weakness of his. The academy elder was indignant. He knew in his heart that all the youngsters in the academy were merely spectators of this matter. They can only look at the matter as entertainment, but are unable to see the crucial point in this. They are unable to experience the excitement in this battle. The truth is, this is the one time where he, as the academy elder, was battling against Fang Yuan the student. First he grabbed hold of the rules and was bent on punishing Fang Yuan, removing his strong image in front of the other students. Next, Fang Yuan retaliated. His actions may seem rash, but it hit the matter on the point, and with the excuse of advancing to the middle stage, he got back his argument. As for those two unlucky guards, they were merely sacrificial pawns who were implicated by the two's battle of wits. This Fang Yuan, he is too cunning. If he had really killed the two guards, I can still retaliate against him with this reason. Although his talent is lackluster with such a meticulous and experienced method, it is hard to believe that he is just a 15-year-old. The worst part is, I cannot retaliate. No wonder back in those days, the clan had rumors about his early awakened intelligence. The academy elder suddenly realized he had lost. His loss was due to his status. He was the elder in charge of the academy. This was both his strength and weakness. One's strength is also one's weakness. Fang Yuan had understood this logic long ago. The academy elder was both helpless and frustrated. He had asked Fang Yuan to explain, and in actuality, Fang Yuan's explanation was full of loopholes and easily exposable. These guards were chosen by the academy elder himself. They would not be so rash and retarded to scold the Gu Yue ancestors. Fang Yuan's words were on purpose. It was blatant accusation, framing and laying a trap in front of the other party. The academy elder was clear of this, but he knew that he could not pursue the matter. This was a trap. Once he looked into it, the truth would be revealed, and how would he handle this matter? If he did not punish Fang Yuan, the two guards would be pitifully framed, and as the academy elder, if he does not handle things impartially, how can anyone trust him? If he punished Fang Yuan, that would be suppressing and displaying jealousy of the talented. To suppress a junior of the clan for two servants who were not part of the clan, this matter would trigger the unhappiness of the clansmen. Thus, the best way to resolve this was to pretend to not see anything and treat these two guards as discarded pieces, admitting that they had performed a huge mistake, as well as praising Fang Yuan. This way, the clansmen would be satisfied, and the deceived guards, without additional information, would think of this as being impartial. If he handled the matter like this, it would give the academy elder the largest benefit. Logic told the academy elder that this is the way to handle it, but emotionally, he could not take it lying down. This Fang Yuan was too devious. The academy elder not only failed to suppress Fang Yuan, but he himself became the stepping stone for Fang Yuan, getting humiliated in public. Fang Yuan did not show the slightest respect for him, and dared to oppose him like this in public, causing this esteemed academy elder to suffer such humiliation and frustration. The point was, in future if these two guards felt indignant and wanted to reveal the truth, as the academy elder, if he wanted to maintain his image and position, he would have to be the first to step up and suppress them. But this was all caused by Fang Yuan. What sort of feeling is this? For example, it would be like Fang Yuan pooping on the academy elder's face, but the elder himself still has to praise him and at the same time clean his butt for him. If anyone wanted to point out that there was poop on his face, he has to be the first to shut that person up. This feeling of grievance, it was almost unbearable for the academy elder. There was a growing urge in his heart to give Fang Yuan a few tight slaps. But finally, the academy elder stretched out his arm and patted Fang Yuan's shoulder. "Good lad." The academy elder's face was dim like still water, forcing the words out of his mouth. "It is all thanks to the academy's nurturing," Fang Yuan replied plainly. The corner of the academy elder's eye twitched. Everything was going according to Fang Yuan's calculations. Thereafter, the academy elder ordered the healing goo master to save the two guards. The guards were saved, but they had suffered heavy injuries and were almost crippled, ending up getting fired from the academy by the elder. Fang Yuan did not receive any punishments. On the contrary, he received compliments thoroughly. This result caused much fear in the other youngsters. But this issue was far from over. As time flowed, the commotion spread to the rest of the clan. Fang Yuan, being the first to advance to the middle stage with his C-grade talent, became the after-meal gossip of the entire clan. After meals and tea breaks, everyone was discussing this matter. Subsequent to the initial peculiarity, everyone started to guess the secret behind Fang Yuan's quick advancement. Actually, with a C-grade talent, surpassing a grade and B grade to advance first into middle stage is not something that's strange. True, there are many methods in this world that can achieve such a thing. Take the relic goo for example. Once this goo is used, the aperture walls would be enhanced, and it will assist the cultivation to rise by a small realm, being the easiest method of breaking through. At once, the crowd's discussion evolved into all sorts of possible answers and methods. As for theories about liquor worms and external sources of primeval essence, these ideas were also naturally brought up by many people. If Fang Yuan revealed the existence of the liquor worm at the start, there would not have been such a commotion. But because he hid it, this resulted in the curiosity of many people being raised. Although it appeared peaceful, Gu Yue village had an undercurrent brewing. Numerous eyes were watching the academy elder, all waiting for his explanation. As the academy elder, if he did not know how a student that he had taught himself had advanced, that would be negligence of his role. Thus, the academy elder had to give an explanation. Days passed by. The second youngster to break through the initial stage and advance to middle stage appeared. It was Gu Yue Mobe. Soon after, with just a 3-hour difference, Gu Yue Fang Zheng advanced too. He was, after all, dragged down by the lack of primeval stones. Of course, there was also the reason of him being traumatized by Fang Yuan. The third was Gu Yue Kai Chen. Even if he had Gu Yue Kai Lion's infused primeval essence, the method's effectiveness was not very high and could only be performed once every 3 days, adding to the fact that it was very risky. But with his C-grade talent, getting third position was already a success. On the 5th day, the academy elder once again handed out subsidies. Gu Yue Fang Yuan. He stood at the front, calling out Fang Yuan's name first. Fang Yuan stood up and walked towards him with a plain expression. The youngster's attention was on him as he moved, revealing all sorts of envy, jealousy, inspection, and hatred. Not one was the same. Today, the elder is not only handing out resources, he is also appointing the chairman and vice chairman positions. As expected, the first to be called up was Fang Yuan. He is the first to advance. The title of chairman belongs to him. It is hard to imagine that this would be the result. Before this, I thought it would be Fang Zheng who would come first. He was the first to advance to middle stage. It is so peculiar, there has to be a huge secret, but he refuses to tell us. If it was me, I wouldn't tell anyone either. Keep quiet and prosper. As the students conversed, Fang Yuan arrived in front of the academy elder. Gu Yue Fang Yuan, you are the first Gu master to reach rank 1 middle stage in this class, so this is your reward. Saying so, he handed him a white and blue money bag. Fang Yuan received the money bag and opened it in public, peeking inside. Be rest assured, there's a total of 30 primeval stones inside. The academy would not shortchange you. The academy elder smiled. Frankly speaking, he would never have expected that the first youngster to advance to middle stage would be Fang Yuan. However, Fang Yuan did not listen to the academy elder. He rarely trusted others and only believed in himself. He checked carefully and found that it was indeed 30 primeval stones, not one less. He then placed the money bag into his bosom pocket. The academy elder, upon seeing this action, thought that his finances were tight and could not help but smile even more brightly. I guess so, he is after all a C-grade talent. Rushing to the middle stage, his primeval stone expenditure had to be huge. He has no funding from anyone as well, thus he has to be tight on primeval stones. As long as he has a need for primeval stones, will not be afraid of him leaving the control of the clan. Once he enters the clan system, he would not be able to keep that secret, so even if we can't investigate it, one day he will tell us. Towards this, the academy elder was full of confidence. The truth is, after that day, he had sent people to investigate Fang Yuan in secret. Almost every day there would be progress in the search. But evidently, those people had not found out that Fang Yuan has a few hundred primeval stones in his possession, and was actually rather rich. The academy elder continued and said, Fang Yuan, you are the first to step into rank 1 middle stage, and according to the academy rules, you not only will receive 30 primeval stones as reward, but you will also gain priority in choosing your second Gu soon after. Right now, I shall appoint you as class chairman. Fang Yuan was appointed as chairman after all. Upon hearing this, a few students sighed. Damn it, Gu Yue Mobe gritted his teeth, feeling indignant. HMPH, Gu Yue Kai-chen crossed his limbs, staring at the scene coldly. The one that was affected the most was Fang Yuan's brother, Gu Yue Fang Zheng. His face was pale and his expression looked uncertain, a dark cloud looming over his head. Ordinary students, upon seeing the chairman and vice chairman, have to bow and pay respects. With my results, I will definitely be a vice chairman. But from now on, when I see Big Brother, I'll have to pay my respects to him. Hold on. But at this moment, Fang Yuan spoke. He smiled faintly to the academy elder and said slowly, Esteemed elder, your student here is not gifted and does not have high wisdom, hence being unable to properly take on the role of chairman. This role should be given to talented people. What? You mean you do not want to be chairman? As the chairman, you'll get 10 primeval stones every time. Are you sure you want to reject it? The academy elder frowned deeply as he spoke. For the last tens of years of teaching, he had not seen anyone reject this position. Actually, he had already given much thought about this matter, and letting Fang Yuan be class chairman had its merits. Once he was the chairman, he would be inside the clan system. Fang Yuan will have to carry out his duties at the same time while enjoying his treatment. No matter what the chairman's role was, the least he had to do was to stop extorting his classmates. This was definitely not something a class chairman can do. This is like before. Even though the academy elder was humiliated by Fang Yuan, he still had to praise him for his excellent cultivation results. As someone bound by the system, he would not be able to do as he pleases when handling matters, and many times he'd be left with no choice. Of course, this was not because the Academy elder was displeased with Fang Yuan extorting so many primeval stones every time. He was thinking for the entire board of students. Once Fang Yuan becomes chairman and stops extorting, this would allow the other teenagers to have a breather under Fang Yuan's pressure. Next, with some push of a hand, it would result in a multi-way competition among the families. As long as he can nurture the clan's hopeful seeds, Fang Zheng, Mo Bei, and Kai Chen, what is the cost of sacrificing a small role of a chairman? And yet, although he had a good plan, the truth was very different from what he expected. Fang Yuan rejected it. He actually rejected it. Although this position is small, it is the first representation of honor among these hot-blooded youngsters. Besides honor, as the chairman, they get 10 primeval stones as resources each time. This temptation, no youngster has ever resisted it before. But Fang Yuan actually rejected. Fang Yuan looked at the stunned elder and asked him back, "Did the Academy rules state that the first has to be chairman? The position of chairman, is it irrefusable?" The Academy elder replied with a cold expression, "Of course there are no such heartless rules." Fang Yuan laughed, "Thank you, elder, for your understanding." Saying so, he cupped his fists and walked back to his seat. The students who saw this scene with their own eyes all flew into a commotion. At once, the Academy was lively. Fang Yuan actually rejected it. "Are you kidding me? Is he sick in the head? Not sure why he's acting crazy, but he's gonna regret this later." Yes. Fang Yuan gave up on being chairman. "This means I am the chairman." Happiness came too quickly, and the second-place Mo Bei could not react in time. Kai Chen showed a look of disbelief. He was unable to comprehend that someone actually gave up the spot of chairman. He has to be beyond stupid. "Big brother." Fang Zheng stared with huge eyes as he looked at Fang Yuan disappointedly. According to his results, Fang Zheng was assured to be vice chairman. But when Fang Yuan gave up the position, Fang Zheng felt that this position no longer had any meaning. The Academy elder's face was dark this time, really dark. The last time when Fang Yuan skipped class, although he looked angry, it was just an act for the others to see. But this time he was in a bad mood, worse than before. Fang Yuan gave up the position of chairman. This means he is rejecting the clan system. The elder had governed the academy for tens of years, but this was the first time he saw such a student rejecting this huge temptation. He wanted to invite Fang Yuan into the trap, but since he wouldn't enter, the academy elder was helpless. Yes. The giving out of subsidies ended. Mo Bei claimed the position of chairman with his result of being second. Fang Zheng and Kai Chen each became vice chairman. The class chairman was given 10 primeval stones. The vice chairman got 5. A few students who were not from well-to-do families were so envious that they almost drooled when seeing the 3 students' primeval stones. The wheel of red fire, the sun slowly sank down on the west side of the mountain range. Its light was not eye-piercing, but it was a sort of bright and gentle ray. The west sky was dyed a shade of blushful red, the sunset glow continuously spreading out. It was just like an imperial concubine who had just been rewarded, happily crowding around the emperor, wanting to sleep together with him. Qingmao Mountain was engulfed entirely in a sea of rose-red color. Each of the tall pillared buildings and houses were also draped over with a layer of golden yarn. The surrounding forest planted around the academy seemed like it was wiped with a faint stratum of oil. The wind blew slowly, and as the students walked out of the classroom with their bosoms carrying the primeval stones that were just passed out, they were in a relaxed and calm state of mind. I really don't know what Fang Yuan is thinking, to actually give up on the role of class chairman. Heh heh heh, his brain is fried. I bet he thinks of killing people all day. Let's not concern ourselves with this kind of crazy guy. Come to think of it, that day when he burst into the academy, I was really freaked out. It was just so terrifying. I had a nightmare on the day itself after I went home. The students were in groups of twos and threes as they walked. Good day, class chairman. MMM. Greetings, class chairman. MHMM. Gu Yue Mobe swaggered around as he walked, and wherever he went the students would bow and greet him without exception. His face was unable to stifle the expressions of excitement and infatuation. This was the fascination of authority itself. Even if it was just a tiny bit of difference in status, it could also make a person even more confident in his own self-worth. Right now, as the dying sun looked as red as blood, Mobe watched it while his heart sang. How is it that I have never realized before? This sunset's rosiness sure is adorable. HMPH, going head over heels just because of becoming a chairman, as if it's so amazing. Gu Yue Kai Cheng purposely walked behind, since he just didn't want to greet Gu Yue Mobe at all. I really have no idea what Fang Yuan is thinking about, to think he actually let go of the position of chairman. However, it's also a good thing, or else me as the third, how could I have been able to obtain the role of vice chairman? Gu Yue Kai Cheng was confused in his heart, but he also felt happiness and relief. Good day, vice chairman. At this moment, a normal student walked past him and immediately bowed to greet him. Heh, good day to you too. Gu Yue Kai Cheng instantly nodded, his face full of smiles. Once the student was gone, Kai Cheng naturally thought, the taste of vice chairman is rather pleasant. I'm sure the feeling of being the class chairman is even better. If only I was not the vice chairman but the chairman himself, how good that would be. The Kai Cheng who had just been rejoicing earlier was now already filled with insatiable greed, starting to amass expectations for the role of class chairman. Under the system of the clan, each rank that was higher than the last was just like a carrot getting bigger than the previous one, deeply enticing him. Although I am only a C-grade talent, but I believe that everything will get better and better. Gu Yue Kai Cheng was full of hope for his future. However, right now, the other vice chairman Gu Yue Fang Zheng was feeling very much terrible in his heart, his face expression also quite unsightly. Big brother, you. He looked wide-eyed with disbelief at the academy's gate entrance, where a lone figure stood. Old rules as usual, every person one piece of primeval stone. Fang Yuan stood while hugging his arms, his tone dull. Fang Zheng's mouth opened and closed a few times. Then after some moments of effort he finally said, Big brother, but I am the vice chairman now. That's true. Fang Yuan was expressionless as he nodded, giving Fang Zheng an indifferent look. The vice chairman receives an allowance of 5 pieces each time, so you should give up 3 pieces instead. Fang Zheng was flabbergasted, and for a moment he was unable to say a word. A group of teenagers were crowding around Gu Yue Mobe as they walked over. When they saw Fang Yuan blocking the school gate entrance, Gu Yue Mobe flew into a rage, his finger pointing towards Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan, you sure have the guts to actually still dare hold us back. Right now I am the chairman, and as a normal student when you see me, you should first bow and greet me. What answered him next was Fang Yuan's fist. Gu Yue Mobe was caught unexpected. After being hit by the fist, he could not refrain from retreating a few big steps backwards, his face full of disbelief. You hit me. You actually dared to hit me. I am but the chairman. What answered him again was still Fang Yuan's fists. Bang, bang, bang. After a few rounds of exchanging offensive and defensive blows, Gu Yue Mobe was knocked down to the floor by Fang Yuan, and he fell unconscious. The surrounding youths were all wide-eyed as they watched, all of them unsure of how to react for a moment. This was totally different from their imaginations. The guards at the gate entrance had also been watching everything that happened under their eyelids. They could not help but whisper among themselves. Fang Yuan just knocked down the new class chairman. What do we do? Salad dressing. What do you mean? It means just watch them, then call some other guys and tidy up the place. But, hey, you want to provoke a person like Fang Yuan. I hope you remember what happened to Wang De and Wu Er. The questioning guard immediately quivered and stopped saying any more. The two guards at the huge gate entrance stood perfectly straight and upright. To let an incident happen right beside them, it was as if they were deaf and blind, unable to hear or see anything. After Fang Yuan sorted out Gu Yue Mo Bei, he also dealt with Fang Zheng and Kai Cheng. It was then that the other teenagers realized that nothing had changed. Fang Yuan was still the same old Fang Yuan, and the extortion would still continue as always. Each of you hand over 1 piece of primeval stone, Vice Chairman 3 pieces, Class Chairman 8 pieces. Fang Yuan announced the new rules. The youths could only sigh and obediently fish out their primeval stones. When they walked out of the school gates, suddenly someone slapped his head and exclaimed loudly, "I've thought of it. No wonder Fang Yuan did not want the position of class chairman. He wanted to continue extorting us." That's right. Every time he does it, he would get about 59 pieces of primeval stones, and right now it's gone up to about 68 pieces. If he was the class chairman, he'd only get 10 pieces. Quite a few of them were enlightened. He's too treacherous, too cunning, too savage. Some of them were slapping their thighs, full of hatred and resentment. Sai, this way it means that there's nothing extraordinary about the position of class and vice chairman. They'll also be extorted and be left with 2 pieces, just like the rest of us. It was unknown who just spoke, but when the youngsters heard it, they all could not help but turn silent. Bang! The academy elder slapped the table fiercely, feeling extremely furious. This Fang Yuan is just too absurd. What is he trying to do? To go as far as to continue extorting, taking 8 pieces from the class chairman and 3 pieces from the vice chairman. With this, what is the difference of being a class and vice chairman in comparison with the other normal students? The academy elder tried his best to suppress his voice, but his tone was filled with fury. When Fang Yuan rejected the position of class chairman, it meant rejecting his own integration into the clan system. In strict terms, this was a sort of betrayal towards the clan itself. This was enough to make the academy elder very angry. Immediately after that, Fang Yuan had gone to extort his fellow classmates. His handreach was getting further, and this had already gone beyond the academy elder's bottom line. After the extortion this time, the influence of class chairman and vice chairman would be completely weakened. Over time, the normal students would lose their respect and interest for these 2 positions. While Fang Yuan's actions this time seemed small, the meaning behind it was rather heavy. It was pretty much using oneself's own strength to challenge the clan system. This was something the academy elder totally did not wish to see. He was raising the clan's fresh new hopes, not the clan's traitors. Yet despite knowing Fang Yuan had gone and challenged his baseline, he knew that he was unable to do anything to handle the matter. If he really did, the first one who would not let him go would be the clan head. The second and third person to have opinions against him would be Gu Yue Kai Lion and Gu Yue Mo Chen. The clan head put in all his hopes onto Gu Yue Fang Zheng, for Fang Zheng was the only a-grade talent in 3 years. The clan leader needed a tenacious and independent genius, not a fragile and delicate flower who was cared for. At the same time, for Kai Lion and Mo Chen, they also had placed their hopes onto their own respective grandsons, hoping that their grandchildren would grow in the midst of setbacks and frustrations. If the academy elder acted and replaced the students in punishing Fang Yuan, Once word got out then, there would be the sayings of Mo and Kai family's future successors could not beat Fang Yuan, and could only let the elders help them out. How unpleasant that would be. This would inevitably be a huge blow towards the fame and honor of the Mo and Kai family. Of course, the academy elder was not afraid of a small little Fang Yuan, but he was instead worried that his intervention would attract pressure from the three sides, the clan head, Mo and Kai bloodline. They pretty much made up of almost the entire Gu Yue high authorities. As a lowly elder, how could he possibly endure? The root of this matter still goes back to Fang Yuan's secret. What in the world did he rely on to break through to the middle stage? The academy elder restrained the fire in his heart and shot his gaze at the three investigation reports on his table. The first report showed extensive info about Fang Yuan's family background. Fang Yuan was born into a good family. There was nothing strange about his identity, and his life experience was perfectly clean and spotless. Both his parents had passed away, and he was taken in by his uncle and aunt. However, they did not get along, and ever since he attended the academy, Fang Yuan had always stayed in the academy hostel. The second report was about Fang Yuan's life records. He had showed early intelligence during junior age and was seen optimistically by the clansmen, predicted to be a possible grade talent. Yet after the awakening ceremony, he was tested to be a C grade, greatly disappointing the clan. The third report was on Fang Yuan's recent trail. His everyday life patterns were very simple, and he had a rigid schedule. During the day, he would always be attending lessons in the academy, and in the night he would always sleep in the dormitories. He was extremely hardworking in his cultivation, and would always enter a Gu master's cultivation every night, nurturing his aperture. There were times he would go out to the villages only to have better meals and buy wine to drink. He had a special affection towards wine, and loved to drink the green bamboo wine. Under his hostel bed, he kept tens of pots of green bamboo wine. The academy elder looked carefully again at the three reports, his heart forming a deeper impression of Fang Yuan again. Both his parents died early, and he was unable to get along with his uncle and aunt. No wonder this brat Fang Yuan does not have a sense of belonging towards the clan. He was personally crowned as a genius among all by the clansmen, yet they also personally plucked him out of the sky and threw him down to the earth. No wonder he is so wild and unruly, and so peculiarly cold and detached. His life is so simple, and he is assiduous towards cultivation. This is him holding back his breath, unwilling to concede. He wants to prove his ability to the clan. Thus that is why when I suppressed him, he retaliated so fiercely. Once the academy elder carefully thought until this point, he could not help but heave a sigh. The more he learned about Fang Yuan, the more he understood Fang Yuan. Of course, understanding does not mean forgiving. Fang Yuan went against him, offending his dignity, rejecting to be class chairman, and even extorting his classmates. These were things he could not tolerate. Shaking the information in his hands, the academy elder frowned again. Although these reports are detailed, they have nothing to do with Fang Yuan's advancement secret. It has already been a few days. These people are atrocious. Boom, boom, boom. At this time, knocking sounds were heard on the door. "Come inside," the academy elder said. The door opened. It was the clan head, Gu Yue Bo's personal guard. "The clan leader has orders. Esteemed elder, please hurry to the main family pavilion. There is a matter to discuss." "Oh, what's the matter?" The academy elder stood up from his seat. He had felt the severity of the issue from the guard's tone and expression. "The rank 4 Gu master Sir Jia Fu has come back. His brother Jia Jin Sheng has gone missing," the guard answered. Hiss! The academy elder instantly drew a mouthful of cold air. The moon, round like a wheel, was faintly discernible among the floating clouds. The academy elder hurriedly walked on the road, his face barely visible under the flickering moonlight. It was hard to survive in this world, and Gu masters going missing was a common thing. With his extensive life experience, the Academy elder knew that under normal circumstances, these sort of sudden disappearances often spelled death. Anyone can die, but Jia Jin Sheng cannot, especially not dying in the Gu Yue village. His identity was special, his father being the Jia family head, his brother being the rank 4 Gu master Jia Fu. A rank 4 Gu master has yellow-gold primeval essence, and they have absurd fighting power. Within the Gu Yue clan, only the clan leader is rank 4 and can match up to him, while the other clan elders were all rank 3. The Jia family head was at an even higher cultivation level. He was a rank 5, and under his lead the Jia family rose to prosperity, becoming a large-sized clan and possessing the resources of an entire mountain with a large number of clansmen. Compared to them, Gu Yue clan was just a middle-sized one. If the two clans fought, Gu Yue village would definitely have the disadvantage. The most crucial part was, if this matter was spread, the Gu Yue clan's reputation would be tarnished. Many merchants are vigilant in choosing their routes. Without the interaction with merchants, the Gu Yue clan's surplus local resources would not have an avenue to sell, and the external resources they required would not be purchasable. As time passes, they would definitely weaken. This matter is severe. If we do not handle it well, it would be a disaster. The Academy elder worriedly rushed towards the clan head's pavilion. Once he stepped into the conference hall in the clan head's pavilion, the Academy elder felt the solemn and serious atmosphere. The main seat was occupied by the current clan leader Gu Yue Bo. The fat and short Jia Fu brought along 5 to 6 followers with him and stood at the center of the hall, adopting an accusative stance. Under the bright light of the lamp, the solemn faces of the elders who were standing at side of their chairs were evident. Jia Fu was a rank 4 Gu master, and since he was not sitting, these rank 3 clan elders naturally did not dare to sit. This was the deterrent force of a rank 4 Gu master. It was also a form of respect for power. Greetings. The clan elders were about to pay their respects, but they were stopped by the clan leader Gu Yue Bo's hands. Gu Yue Bo, who had grizzled white hair, was using his finger to rub his temple, a look of distress on his face. I'm not going to say more about the matter. The clan academy is always under your supervision. Let me ask you, where is Gu Yue Fang Yuan? The academy elder was shocked. Internally he thought, how does this have to do with that brat Fang Yuan? He answered politely. At this timing, he should be cultivating in the academy hostel. The clan leader sighed. Brother Jia is very suspicious now. He thinks that his brother Jia Jin Sheng's disappearance has something to do with Fang Yuan. I order you to go and bring him here immediately. The academy elder shuddered in his heart. Yes. He understood the severity of this issue, and hurriedly paid his respects before he turned around and left. Brother Jia, that Fang Yuan will be brought here immediately. Have a seat. Gu Yue Bo pointed at a seat near him and said to Jia Fu. Jia Fu laughed bitterly, cupping his fists at Gu Yue Bo. I apologize to Brother Gu Yue. I was really anxious then. It has already been days since I've seen my brother. I fear for the worst. I really cannot afford to wait. There are some things that, only after losing them can they be understood. Jia Fu only realized it in these few days. The reason why his father paired him up with the burdened Jia Jin Sheng for the caravan. It was to test his nature, seeing if he could, while suppressing his brother, remember their kinship, and at the same time take care of this little brother. If Jia Jin Sheng was dead now, how would his father view him? When he realized this point, he immediately held investigations in the caravan and quickly set his target on the Gu Yue village. He rushed back without a single break. Now that he was standing, reluctant to sit, it was to create the impression that he was determined to get the culprit. This was both emitting pressure on the Gu Yue clan as well as giving his father a form of assurance when he returned to the Jia family. Reporting to clan leader, sir, Fang Yuan has been brought here. Quickly, the academy elder brought Fang Yuan to the hall. Gu Yue Fang Yuan pays his respects to clan elder, Sir Jia Fu, and the various clan elders, Fang Yuan said with an expressionless face. It's him, Jia Fu coldly observed Fang Yuan at the same time, asked a female Gu master. This female Gu master was the one who Fang Yuan bought the purple gold rock from at the gambling den. Yes, it's him. There is no mistake, the female Gu master stared at Fang Yuan, saying confidently. Jia Fu nodded. Immediately his gaze was like two steel blades slashing at Fang Yuan. But he did not interrogate openly, for this was the Gu Yue village. Thus he had to give the Gu Yue clan leader some respect. Thus he looked towards the Gu Yue clan leader. The Gu Yue clan leader had a serious expression. He knew that Jia Fu purposely conversed with the female Gu master loudly. It was not only to confirm Fang Yuan's identity, but also to assert his motive. He was implying to the Gu Yue clan head that he had the evidence in his hands. I have sufficient confidence, so you better not overly defend your own clansmen. This caused some displeasure in the Gu Yue clan leader's heart, thinking, you Jia Fu lost your brother. It was your mistake to begin with. Now you come here to our Gu Yue village with an accusative stance. Do you think my Gu Yue clan can be easily bullied? My Gu Yue clan is impartial and works around based on logic, but don't be mistaken that this is a weakness. Thinking of this, he did not interrogate Fang Yuan immediately, but fiercely said to the female Gu master, did you see clearly? I'm not afraid to tell you this, but Fang Yuan has a twin brother who looks extremely identical to him. Are you really sure it's him? The female Gu master was just a rank one, and under Gu Yue Bo's pressure, she instantly showed a hesitant and nervous expression. Jia Fu frowned and took a step forward, blocking her from Gu Yue Bo's sight. Cupping his fists, he said, Brother Gu Yue, I've always respected the Gu Yue clan, especially the Gu Yue clan's first and fourth clan leader. These two were rank 5 powerhouses. One built the clan from scratch, where he went through tough times and created the Gu Yue family's 100-year foundation. Another was a benevolent hero, for to protect his clan he sacrificed himself, and is worth respecting. Brother Gu Yue, as the clan leader, I believe you will act impartial. Please interrogate this Fang Yuan. Hearing that his tone had softened, Gu Yue Bo nodded, but his heart had already decided. If this Fang Yuan was the culprit, then he would hand him over. After all, he was just a C grade. There is no loss in losing him, as long as it is able to settle this dispute. If Fang Zheng was the one who did it, Fang Yuan also has to take the blame. Fang Zheng is a grade genius, the only one in 3 years. The clan higher-ups still expect to nurture him greatly to go against that Bai Enning Bing from the Bai clan village. Fang Yuan, don't be nervous. Gu Yue clan leader smiled benevolently, using a gentle tone towards Fang Yuan. Let me ask you, do you know any information about that Jia Jin Sheng? Who is Jia Jin Sheng? Fang Yuan looked up and said calmly. He's lying. The female Gu master from the gambling den shrieked right as Fang Yuan finished his question. The people in the discussion hall, upon hearing this shrieking, frowned and all looked towards her. The female Gu master pointed at Fang Yuan, showing an agitated expression. It's him, it's him. At our gambling den, he bought 6 purple gold rocks and the 5th was a mudskin toad. Young Master Jia saw it and tried to use 500 primeval stones to purchase it. This left a huge impression on me. Even if a year or 2 passes, I will not forget. Not only me, but the other Gu masters at the gambling den saw it too. Is that so? The Gu Yue clan leader's smile disappeared, showing a stiff expression and dragging his question towards Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan only nodded now, showing a hint of nervousness, and pretended to suddenly realize. Oh, it's him. All right, if he's Jia Jin Sheng, then I do know him. But after the gambling den incident, I did not see him ever again. He's lying again. This time, it was not the female Gu master, but a male Gu master who called out in public. Fang Yuan looked towards him, and as if he had recognized him, showed an expression of shock but quickly tried to hide it. His expression changes were reflected in everyone's eyes. Everyone started to ponder. Esteemed sirs, I am an employee at the wine shop. The male Gu master first cupped his fists to everyone, and then vigorously pointed at Fang Yuan. That night, I saw clearly at the wine shop, he was sitting with young master Jia Jin Sheng, and the two secretly conversed for a long time. Once he said so, the hall erupted into a clamor of soft discussions. The academy elder used a cold gaze and looked at Fang Yuan. The Gu Yue clan master moved backward slightly, slowly leaning on the large chair. How can that be? Fang Yuan showed an obviously frantic expression, hurriedly saying, the wine shop had so many people, how can you recognize me just like that? You might be mistaken yourself. Haha, I am definitely not wrong. The male Gu master smiled, his gaze staring at Fang Yuan. At this moment he felt extremely confident. Not to mention it was young master Jia Jin Sheng who coming to our wine shop. We have to take care of him carefully. Even if it was not him, I would still have had recognized you, as you had given me a strong impression. Saying so, he raised his eyebrows, saying smugly, do you still remember? That day you came to our shop, wanting a cup of monkey wine, but you only drank a mouthful. After that you released the liquor worm and fed the remaining monkey wine to it. I saw the liquor worm and was very agitated, wanting to purchase it from you, but you refused to sell it and walked away immediately. Good, exactly what I wanted to hear. Fang Yuan laughed coldly in his heart, but showed an expression of shock on his face, subconsciously taking a step backwards. Liquor worm. The eyes of the academy elder behind Fang Yuan shone. But quickly he frowned again and could not help but ask, Fang Yuan, where did you get that liquor worm? Fang Yuan clenched his fists, gritting his teeth but refusing to answer. The surrounding clan elders flew into a rage, starting to scowl. Fang Yuan, do you know the trouble you've caused? Talk exactly what happened. Tell us of what you know, own up. This liquor worm is at Jia Jin Sheng. How can it be his? The liquor worm is obviously obtained by myself. I opened it. Fang Yuan raised his head suddenly, his expression worked up, as if he could not stand such a slander, and shouted loudly with an indignant emotion. You opened it. Gu Yuebo frowned deeply. That's right, at this point, I shall not hide it any further. Fang Yuan acted as if he was risking everything, speaking urgently. I bought 6 pieces of purple gold rock at the gambling den, but because I did not have enough primeval essence, I only opened 5 on the spot. The last one I brought back to the hostel, and after opening it, I found a liquor worm inside. I was overjoyed as I had searched up information on it before, and knew that the liquor worm is a rare goo worm that could supplement my lack of talent. Thus I refined it on the spot. Wait, you said that you bought 6 gambling rocks and opened a mudskin toad as well as another liquor worm. The clan elders, upon hearing this, could not help but ask in an unbelievable tone. So what? Fang Yuan answered as a matter of fact, then pointed at the female Gu master, shouting, she can be my witness. Everyone on the scene were momentarily stunned, before turning to look at the female Gu master. The female Gu master felt the pressure from all the gaze and did not dare to lie, so she honestly said, it is indeed true. Fang Yuan bought 6 rocks and opened the mudskin toad on the 5th. He brought the 6th piece away, but I do not know what he opened inside. Buying 6 purple gold rocks and getting 2 goo worms consecutively, isn't this luck way too good? The clan elders mumbled. What's so hard to understand? It's luck, who knows, heh, back in the days when I gambled rocks I also. Wait, goo worms are hard to refine. Why did it sound like Fang Yuan easily refined it? Some of the family elders asked suspiciously. You're muddled. Don't you know that when a goo is extracted from a fossil, they're extremely weak, tittering on the brink of death? Even refining them from a lower rank is possible. What's so peculiar about him refining the liquor worm? Someone immediately answered. Fang Yuan continued. I refined the liquor worm and went to the stores on the second day. I indeed went to a wine shop in the afternoon and bought a cup of monkey wine. At night, I went again and witnessed a scamming scene. Jia Jin Sheng was selling a smelly fat worm as a black boar goo to someone in my clan. Next, Sir Jia Fu appeared and resolved the dispute. I went to the wine shop again, but I did not expect to see Jia Jin Sheng drinking wine in a poor mood. I had just obtained the liquor worm and was extremely happy, so I asked him how many primeval stones I could sell it for. Who knew that Jia Jin Sheng, upon hearing my liquor worm, wanted to forcefully buy it? I obviously rejected him. I had no intentions to sell it, only wanting to know its value. Even if I wanted to sell it, that would have to be after I am rank 2, thus I left on the spot. Fang Yuan's words had brought out the matter of Jia Jin Sheng and Jia Fu's conflict, causing the clan elders to see Jia Fu in a different light. Under these pressuring gazes, Jia Fu coughed and asked Fang Yuan with shining eyes, "Then did my brother chase after you?" Fang Yuan nodded, half lying. He not only chased me but also added an extra 50 primeval stones. But I did not want to sell it, so he was furious, claiming that the Gu Yue clan was no big deal, asking me to watch out. After saying that, he walked away. I never saw him again. Jia Fu nodded internally. With his understanding of Jia Jin Sheng, he definitely would have chased after Fang Yuan and gave threats as that was his style. If Fang Yuan said he did not chase after him, that would be a lie. But since Fang Yuan said so, this led Jia Fu to a predicament. His investigations led up only to this clue. Did Jia Jin Sheng really not search for Fang Yuan after that? Maybe he found Fang Yuan again afterwards, and as the two could not agree on the matter, he was killed by Fang Yuan. This is entirely possible. Speak, was Jia Jin Sheng killed by you? Thinking of this, Jia Fu interrogated fiercely, attempting to pressurize Fang Yuan with his aura. Fang Yuan denied once again, claiming that he did not see Jia Jin Sheng anymore. Jia Fu had no other evidence, and while one side questioned intensely, the other denied. At this point, it had become a stalemate. As Gu Yuebo listened to their conversation, he turned displeased. That Jia Jin Sheng actually dared to threaten the Gu Yue clan on Qingmao Mountain. This was not giving the Gu Yue clan any respect. Now this Jia Fu dared to interrogate a Gu Yue clan member so intensely in front of all the Gu Yue clan higher-ups. Never mind if he had evidence, but now that he has no evidence or proof, if this matter spread out, what would happen to the Gu Yue clan's honor? Brother Jia, it's not that I want to speak out of turn. The clan leader interrupted his interrogation and continued. Jia Jin Sheng has gone missing for so many days. Hope is bleak. The culprit who caused this crime definitely left behind some traces. Did brother find anything yet? Jia Fu stared fiercely at Fang Yuan before raising his head and sighed. I understand brother's words. If there were any traces, I would not have come here to find the culprit. That criminal is obviously experienced with vile methods and meticulous handling. To speak the truth, all the clues are at a dead end, and on the day we left, there was a huge rain that could have washed away all the possible blood traces. Gu Yuebo smiled faintly. Brother Jia, I heard that your Jia family has a tracing goo worm called the Underworld Path Butterfly. It can emit soul fragrance and be implanted on goo worms. The scent is colorless and odorless and never fades. Your Jia family members' goo worms all have this scent. As long as you use the Underworld Path Butterfly following the fragrance, you'll be able to find the goo worms and thus your brother. Jia Fu solemnly said, I used the underworld path butterfly long ago, but there was no effect. I'm sure you've heard that once the goo worm dies, the fragrance dissipates. Evidently, the murderer killed all of the goo worms in my brother's possession. Gu Yue Bo's words turned. That's strange. The murderer harmed your brother, but he did not go for the goo worms or for extortion to get primeval stones. The murderer killed this tiny rank 1 goo master. What was the motive? Indeed, what was the motive? Regardless of whether Jia Jin Sheng was dead, there had to be a motive, right? If not for goo worms nor primeval stones, then was it for love? But if it was a crime of passion, it had to be a long-term process, and Jia Fu would not have come to the Gu Yue clan. The caravan members and clansmen would fall under greater suspicion as they have a long relationship with him. At once the hall fell into silence. Fang Yuan followed everyone's gazes and suddenly said to Jia Fu, "Maybe Jia Jin Sheng was killed by you. I heard before that your family is splitting assets. Now that one brother is dead, wouldn't you get more inheritance?" "Shut up. Baseless accusation. Do not slander Sir Jia Fu." Immediately, the family elders erupted. Fang Yuan kept quiet immediately, his gaze shining obscurely, but his objective had been reached. His earlier words were like a pebble that was thrown into the elders' sea of thoughts, causing waves of ripples. The clan elders followed this train of thought and started to think. Jia Fu cannot kill Jia Jin Sheng. This causes more harm to him than reward. Wait, even if he won't do it, that does not mean others woe. The Jia family's internal dispute. A certain elder had a flash of inspiration and lightly muttered. His volume was not high, but in the silent hall it could be heard clearly. At once the elder's gaze shone. Finally, they have thought of this. Fang Yuan's mouth twitched, his eyelids drooping, hiding away his cold gaze. The Jia family's clan leader wants to split the assets and impart the role of clan leader. And because of this, his children underwent intense competition, especially Jia Fu and Jia Gui, both being rank 4 Gu masters and having their own supporters. In these few years, the Jia family situation is somewhat known by many of the mountain villages. Jia Jin Sheng's misfortune was too strange. Currently, there was no evidence showing that Fang Yuan was the killer. It was obvious that the motivation for murder was not enough just based on the theory of killing just because of a liquor worm. At the same time, the murderer's actions and methods would not be so meticulous and secretive. But if Jia Gui was the one acting in the shadows, then it could be explained. Everyone present was a higher-up, and as someone in a position of power, there had to be something capable about them. At least for political schemes, they had great intuition and perception. The Jia family dispute. This gave everyone's imaginations a pair of wings. The Jia family clan leader had arranged Jia Jin Sheng to join the caravan. One reason was to test Jia Fu's nature, to see if he was a good brother, and only suppressed but not bully his brother. Now that Jia Jin Sheng was in trouble, Jia Fu would be implicated, and who is the true winner? Obviously Jia Fu's greatest competitor, Jia Gui. The criminal's actions were so fluid, causing all clues to come to a dead end. This showed how experienced the criminal was. How could this be done by a 15-year-old like Fang Yuan? All the answers were revealed at once. The discussion hall was still silent, but the elders exchanged gazes full of meaning. To make someone believe in something wholeheartedly, it is not through convincing but directing. Fang Yuan's keen observation allowed him to see these glances, and he laughed coldly in his heart, but his face still showed an expression of indignance and stubbornness. Jia Fu's face was so dark and gloomy it could drip water. The matter of the Jia family internal dispute caused him to think of Jia Gui. At that moment his soul shook. Who else had a greater motivation than Jia Gui? No one. I understand now, I understand everything. The academy elder stood behind Fang Yuan looking at him. His eyes shone. Fang Yuan is both lucky and unfortunate, meeting Jia Jin Sheng at the last moment. With his age of just starting to attend school, how can he get rid of all the evidence? If he had such scheming abilities, how can he show this expression of indomitability? He denied it earlier just to hide the existence of the liquor worm. At this point, everyone had dispelled their suspicions towards Fang Yuan. Getting rid of the suspicions on me is just the first step. What happens next is crucial. Fang Yuan was in grasp of the situation, and at this point, everything was going according to plan. He sighed internally and looked at Jia Fu. Jia Fu looked at him too, the unfriendliness in his eyes growing obviously more intense. Jia Fu was conflicted. He had dispelled his suspicions of Fang Yuan, and was certain that Jia Gui was the mastermind. But yet, so what if I know the truth? Jia Fu felt anger and sadness surging. I have no evidence at hand, so if I accuse Jia Gui in front of Father without any proof, Father might even think I am trying to frame him. Jia Fu was smart, and he looked at Fang Yuan, a light flashing in his eyes. Jia Jin Sheng had journeyed with him together, and now that he was missing, it was Jia Fu's fault for not taking care of him. Since he could not accuse Jia Gui, he had to give his father some answer. And this answer was in front of him. That's right, if Fang Yuan is the scapegoat, it would at least help me get through this crisis. Once I get over it, I can get back at Jia Gui with twice the payback. Jia Fu thought deviously. He raised his pitch, interrogating Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan, how do you prove that you did not harm Jia Jin Sheng? The clan elders were stunned. This is obviously your internal dispute. Why are you still grabbing onto my clansmen? Only the Gu Yue clan leader looked grim, his expression turning sharp as he stared at Jia Fu. Fang Yuan, what proof do you have to show that you were not present at the time and did not harm Jia Jin Sheng? If you can't prove it, you are the murderer. Jia Fu pointed at Fang Yuan, his gaze furious as he threatened with his aura. He's trying to push our clan's Fang Yuan into being the scapegoat. How atrocious! At this point, the clan elders had reacted and their expressions all turned unkind. They had been fighting and scheming against each other for a long time, so if they thought about it, they would know easily about Jia Fu's standpoint and intentions. Witness? Of course I do. I prepared it long ago. Fang Yuan smiled internally but showed an expression of shock as if he wanted to speak but couldn't. No need for others, just tell me if you do or not. Jia Fu raised his voice again, forcing Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan showed an indignant expression, but finally gritted his teeth and said helplessly, "No." "Haha, then you are," Jia Fu was about to declare his verdict, but at that point. "Halt!" The academy elder took a step forward and stood in front of Fang Yuan with a solemn expression. "Of course he has a witness, that would be me." "You?" Jia Fu asked in shock. "That's right, me." The academy elder, facing rank 4 Jia Fu, was slightly overpowered, but seeing Gu Yue Bo's encouraging gaze, he gathered his courage and raised his head. These days, when Fang Yuan unexpectedly became the first to break through the middle stage, I sent my men to investigate him. His everyday activities and actions are recorded down. There was no time for him to harm Jia Jin Sheng. Yes, this is it. Fang Yuan hid behind the academy elder's back, where no one could see his curled lips, revealing a smile. Jia Fu's expression was dim. He did not expect the academy elder to stand out and protect Fang Yuan. The crucial point was, the Gu Yue clan leader did not object. This had a great meaning, for it meant the Gu Yue clan was going to protect Fang Yuan. I get it. I wanted to get Fang Yuan to become the scapegoat, but that was from my perspective, and I did not consider their perspective. Indeed, once Fang Yuan is criminalized, the Gu Yue clan has to bear the evil name of harming a Jia family member. From then on, they will have to face the Jia family's retribution as well as losing their own reputation. Furthermore, future caravans would not dare to come here and trade anymore, The loss is too great. Thinking of this, Jia Fu was anguished and wanted to slap his own head. The Gu Yue higher-ups did have such considerations. Fang Yuan was a C grade, so if he really harmed Jia Jinsheng, handing him over was nothing. But the point was, now that his suspicion had been cleared, if he was handed over, wouldn't the Gu Yue clan suffer a great injustice and lose out greatly? Knowing that this conflict could not be resolved, Jia Fu gritted his teeth, determined to get his way. He said, "If so, why don't you let me use the footprint Gu? Once this Gu is used, it will show us his last 30,000 footprints on the floor." The Academy elder scoffed in displeasure. Jia Fu's words meant he did not trust them, but he has no reason to stop him, thus he let Jia Fu through. "Come and test." Fang Yuan laughed coldly at Jia Fu, walking towards him with his head lowered. He was confident, having predicted this. Thus, these few days he kept his activities within the village and did not go to the secret cave. Under the Gu Yue higher-up's supervision, Jia Fu did not play any tricks. The footprint Gu was very peculiar. It was shaped like a person's foot. Its material was like a translucent yogurt, giving others a feeling of smoothness, and the surface had a yellow-green luster. Its size was small, being only palm size. Jia Fu held it in his hands, sending primeval essence into the footprint Gu. The footprint Gu became brighter, and then suddenly, with a bam sound, exploded into a cloud of yellow-green powder. The powdery cloud enveloped Fang Yuan and spun around him before flying out of the discussion hall. Where the powder cloud passed through, the floor would show a series of footprints. These footprints glowed in a yellow-green light around the same size as Fang Yuan's foot. They were Fang Yuan's footprints when he entered the discussion hall. The footprints extended from the family head pavilion into the academy hostel, and then to the academy and circulated. Other than that, it reached the mountain village's inn. The powder cloud became smaller as it flew, and finally at the 30,000th step, it vanished. The results were clear. Everyone had checked and knew that Fang Yuan was innocent. There were no suspicious points. Jia Fu sighed, taking out a small jade box. He opened the jade box, where there was only a jade piece inside. The jade piece was a translucent emerald color, and there was a Gu sealed inside. This was a phasmid's, its body long and slim, with the color of jade, its entire body looking like a bamboo tube. The phasmid's was normally longer than a palm, but this one wasn't, being only the size of a fingernail. On its surface, it emitted a white glow. Green jade as its body, white light enveloping its form. This is the bamboo gentleman. At once, some of the elders recognized this Gu worm and exclaimed. Even Gu Yue Bo was moved. He could not refrain from advising, "Brother Jia, this bamboo gentleman is a rank 4 Gu. It is not easily refined. Why waste it here?" Jia Fu shook his head, looking at Fang Yuan. "This bamboo gentleman was obtained through gambling rocks when I was young. The rock was only open halfway before it could no longer be extracted. As everyone knows, this Gu worm is fed honesty as food, being able to detect lies from birth. Only an honest gentleman who has never lied can refine and feed this Gu. Fang Yuan, you just have to open this rock and keep the bamboo gentleman in your aperture. Whatever I ask you, you will answer. Next, we will take out this Gu and let everyone see if it changed color. If the Gu changes color, you're lying." "No problem." Fang Yuan did not hesitate. He immediately opened the jade piece and did as Jia Fu instructed. The bamboo gentleman appeared in his aperture and emitted a faint green glow, covering the primeval sea. Fang Yuan felt that if he said a single lie, the bamboo gentleman could detect it and turn its body from green into another color. But he only accepted it because he had his trump card. Spring-autumn cicada. With a thought, the spring-autumn cicada awakened and let out a trace of its aura. This aura was overpowering, and it immediately suppressed the bamboo gentleman. The bamboo gentleman emitted a green glow and immediately shrunk its body. Its entire body was curled up, trembling in fear. How could it have the excessive spirit to detect lies? Jia Fu began interrogating, with his first question hitting home. Fang Yuan, did you harm my brother Jia Jin Sheng? No, Fang Yuan affirmed. Jia Fu asked, do you have any other information about him? Fang Yuan shook his head, no idea. Jia Fu asked again, did you say anything dishonest to us earlier? Fang Yuan shook his head again, no. All right, you can take out the bamboo gentleman now. After finishing with 3 questions, Jia Fu instructed Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan took out the bamboo gentleman, and everyone saw that it was still an emerald green color with no changes. The clan elders heaved a sigh of relief. Jia Fu's expression became milder as he kept the bamboo gentleman, cupping his fists towards Gu Yue Bo. Much offense this time, brother Gu Yue. No matter, the truth is what we wanted to see as well. Gu Yue Bo waved his hand, then sighed. But what a pity for this bamboo gentleman. The bamboo gentleman had the ability to detect lies and was a rank 4 Gu, thus it was very valuable. But feeding and refining it was not easy. It had to be refined by an honest gentleman. If any other Gu master had said a single lie, the refinement would fail and the bamboo gentleman would die on the spot. Its food was honesty. It would reside in the aperture of an honest gentleman and consuming the gentleman's honesty as food to survive. Now that the bamboo gentleman had been opened, it was extremely weak, but it had no food to restore its strength. After being treated so harshly by Fang Yuan, its death was set in stone. Jia Fu shook his head, looking at the bamboo gentleman in his head, not feeling any pity. He said solemnly, I have already done my best to investigate, but I received no results. This time when I get back to the family, I will employ the divine investigator Tai Zhu Ling. It would definitely get this matter cleared up. Goodbye. Saying so, he cupped his fists towards Gu Yue Bo and left, crisp and quick, with a certain elegance to it. Seeing Jia Fu and the rest leaving, Gu Yue Bo heaved a sigh of relief and said, You can all leave now. He waved at the clan elders, but suddenly thought of something and said, Academy elder, please stay back. Without losing a single drop of sweat, Fang Yuan walked out of the family head's pavilion safe and sound. Clan leader, what is the matter? The academy elder respectfully stood at a corner. It's nothing much, take a seat. I have a story to share with you. Gu Yue Bo squinted his eyes and said slowly. Your subordinate shall listen with full attention. Academy elder chose to sit at the seat closest to the clan leader. Clan leader Gu Yue Bo began his story on Renzu. Some say, ever since Renzu was able to get their names and subdued the rules and regulation Gu, his first order was for them to capture a longevity Gu. Rules and regulation Gu, one round and other square, worked together and could capture all the Gu in the world. A longevity Gu was nothing difficult. Renzu used the longevity Gu and got back his youth, becoming 20 years old again. But now the rules Gu said, Human, although you subdued us every time you command us, it will add a rule and regulation. Regulation Gu continued, We can catch the longevity Gu for you. This is the first order. Our new rule and regulation is, we will not repeatedly catch the same Gu for you. That means, if Renzu wanted to catch a longevity Gu again, the 2 rules and regulation Gu would not help. Renzu nodded, having no choice but to accept. He gave his second command. Then, other than the longevity Gu, please capture all the other 10,000 Gu in the world for me. Rules and regulation Gu got this command, and rules Gu turned into a giant circle, encompassing the universe. Regulation Gu turned into a giant square, covering the large world. One square and one round formed a giant net together, enveloping the entire world. When they shrunk again and returned to Renzu, all the goo in the world other than longevity goo were captured. Renzu was overjoyed. With this, all the goo belonged to him. From now on, he was the ruler of the world. But once he opened the net with a swoosh, a large number of worms flew outside, and the goo that rules and regulation goo worked hard to catch, all escaped fervently. When Renzu closed the net, only 5 goo were left. Why is this? Renzu was astonished. Rules and regulation answered him. Human, the world has over 10,000 goo with all sorts of abilities. You have no strength or knowledge, how can you subdue them? We can only capture goo for you to subdue them. You have to rely on yourself to get them to work for you. Next they added, this is your second order, so we'll add a second rule and regulation from now on. We can only catch 1 goo for you at a time. Renzu could only nod and carefully open the net, only showing a small gap. The remaining 5 goo contained the strength and wisdom goo. Seeing this, Renzu was overjoyed. He said to Strength Goo, you left me back then, do you have any regrets? If you succumb to me now, I will return you your freedom. Strength Goo said, Human, you are wrong. I didn't leave not because I couldn't, but because I wanted to stay. You want to subdue me, but that's impossible. I only succumb to those stronger than me, but you are out of the question. However, we can deal again. Give me your youth and I will temporarily obey you. Renzu was reluctant upon hearing this. He had just gotten back his youth. Was he about to lose it again? But he desired strength. He knew that with strength he would get stronger and life would get easier. Moreover, with strength he could subdue more goo. Thus Renzu accepted and formed a second deal with it. Renzu became middle-aged at once, and the strength goo flew out of the web and landed on Renzu's shoulder. Renzu had strength and was full of confidence. He said to Wisdom Goo, you left me back then, do you have any regrets? If you succumb to me now, I will return you your freedom. Wisdom Goo said, Human, you are wrong. I did not leave not because I couldn't, but because I wanted to stay. You want to subdue me, but that's impossible. I only succumb to those smarter than me, yet you are not smarter than me. But we can deal again. Give me your middle age and I will temporarily obey you. Renzu, upon hearing this, refused to do the same deal again. He treasured his life more, and he also knew that once he sold his middle age, he would be left with old age. Before long, the strength and wisdom goo would leave him again, just like last time. Renzu refused to deal, but did not want to let go of the wisdom goo. Wisdom Goo was anxious, reluctantly giving in. All right, human, you win. I lost to you this time. As long as you tell me what method you used to capture me, I will admit defeat and not take anything from you, being at your disposal. Upon hearing this, Renzu was overjoyed, and before the rules and regulation goo could stop him, he said, I used the rules and regulation goo to capture you. Wisdom Goo laughed upon hearing. I remembered it, so these goo are called rules and regulation. Ha, now that I know your names, you can no longer capture me. Saying so, it turned into a flash of light and flew away, vanishing into thin air. Rules and regulation goo begin to complain. Human, we told you long ago that our name should be known by you alone and not others. Otherwise, we would be used by others. Look what happened. Now that Wisdom Goo knows our names, it spells trouble. Only then did Renzu realize that he was tricked by Wisdom Goo. He was anguished, for he knew he lost the only chance he had of capturing the Wisdom Goo using rules and regulation. Saying so, Gu Yue Bo's story came to an end. He looked at the Academy Elder with a meaningful gaze. Academy Elder jumped from his seat. He had heard of Renzu's story long ago, but from Gu Yue Bo's mouth, it had a greater meaning. His gaze shone and his heart understood. He bowed slightly at Gu Yue Bo, respectfully saying, Clan leader, you are using this story as an analogy. Fang Yuan as the Wisdom Gu and the clan as Ren Zhu. Although Ren Zhu used the rules and regulation Gu to capture Wisdom Gu and managed to trap it, the Wisdom Gu eventually escaped. Saying so, the Academy elder paused and thought about it for a while before looking at Gu Yuebo. Sir Clan Leader, you want me to let go of Fang Yuan and stop pressuring him, but he's getting more and more overboard. Gu Yuebo stopped the Academy elder's words, holding out his hand, indicating for him to sit and speak. The Academy elder sat and heard Gu Yuebo sigh. Your comprehension is still superb, being an intelligent person, easily getting my point. Unfortunately, your grasp of the situation is still too small. You can only see that tiny plot of land in front of you. Let me tell you, the Academy is a small matter, and the clan is really the important one. I know what you are worried about, afraid that the other students are heavily suppressed by Fang Yuan, eventually losing the fire in their heart. Heh. Gu Yuebo shook his head, pointing at Academy Elder. You're overthinking it. What do you think the clan is doing? Just relying on your academy to nurture new people. Of course not. Behind every student, there's their parents, elders, and friends. Only with these people's support, encouragement, expectations, our Gu Yue clan's new generation can have the confidence and motivation in their hearts. Fang Yuan has indeed repeatedly exceeded my expectations. He has a hint of outstanding excellence. I have been observing Fang Zheng secretly, and I have long known about Fang Yuan's extortions. Just let him continue. Use him to train Fang Zheng, Mo Bei, and Kai Cheng, these rough jades. There are many advantages in this matter. At the very least, this round of students have the best fighting skills among all the previous seasons. Academy Elder was worried. But Clan Leader, excessive hurdles isn't a good thing either. It will crush the jade. Especially that Fang Yuan has the liquor worm now. This worm provides great help to a rank 1 Gu master. I'm worried that at the rank 1 stage, under Fang Yuan's suppression, no one can overturn the situation. Then let them be unable to turn over the situation. Gu Yuebo snorted, showing the grace and callousness of a person in power. This tiny setback, what does it matter? Is it scarier than death? With their family elders' support, if they still lacked motivation, then they are not even jade to begin with and have no value to nurture. The clan has tons of new students into the academy each year, so if this season doesn't succeed, there's always the next. As for Gu Yue Fang Zheng, starting tomorrow night, I will teach him in secret. With the clan leader's personal teaching, that is really Yue Fang Zheng's fortune. Academy Elder licked his boots at the appropriate timing. Gu Yuebo's expression softened as he looked at Academy Elder, instructing. Do you know the reason why after so many decades, you are still the Academy Elder? Have greater tolerance. I know Fang Yuan infringed your dignity and made you humiliated, but do you really have to be so calculative with a junior from a younger generation? I know that Fang Yuan has some earlier wisdom, but he is still a youngster and tends to be rash. If not, he would not have hurt the guards in public and caused you to be in a predicament. He was furious internally back then, and that is understandable. From being hailed as genius to a commoner, it is normal to be angry at the clan. He is actually very childish. You can tell from him trying to hide the liquor worm. How can the liquor worm be hid? He is not mature yet and is still innocent. Don't think of him as a scary being. Comparing him to the Wisdom Gu, I am thinking too highly of him. At most, he has some small intelligence but lacks true wisdom and knowledge. If he hid the fact that he rose to middle stage silently, or accepted the class chairman position without any displeasure, that would truly be deep scheming. Clan leader, your meaning is? Academy Elder raised his eyebrows. What I'm trying to say is, Fang Yuan is discontented with the clan, thus let him go vent his anger. An ant spitting at an elephant, will the elephant care? Emotions are meant to be let out and not bottled inside, so once he's done venting, he will naturally fuse into the clan. Our Gu Yue clan has been around for nearly 1,000 years ever since the first generation founded it. There has been countless of people who were discontented with the clan, But eventually, did any of them manage to overturn the clan? A clan is not just about rules and regulations. There's also blood relation and kinship. Renzu wanted to use the rules and regulations to capture wisdom. Yet not only did he lose, but he also informed wisdom of the rules and regulations. There is profound meaning in this story. The rules are dead, but people are alive, and relationships are deep. If you only know how to use rules and regulations to catch people, it will only increase resentment and cause Fang Yuan to be more dissociated with the clan. Fang Yuan is only a C grade if he's lucky. After tens of years, he'd still be a low-ranking clan elder. But he is still Yue Fang Zheng's twin brother. Do you understand now? Understood. Hearing Gu Yue Bo's final sentence, the academy elder realized at once. If a family only has rules and regulations, then the family is a pile of dead objects. But if you add in blood relationship, it'll be alive. Gu Yue Bo nodded. And one more sentence I want you to remember. Please admonish me, Sir Clan Elder. Gu Yue Bo, with a distant gaze, looked out of the window towards the moon. The sea can hold the water from thousands of rivers. It's big because of its capacity. A person is great when he can be tolerant and forgiving to many other people. Remember this and leave. Yes, clan leader, sir, your subordinate takes his leave, said the academy elder as he left the hall. Tonight's moon was especially round. The moonlight shone splendid and like muslin, draping over the Qingmao mountain. The treasure brass toad would travel 100 meters with every hop. Due to its leaping method to move forward, the precipitous and narrow mountain path was unable to serve as a limitation or hindrance to it. Jia Fu and his crew sat on the back of the treasure brass toad. After exiting the Gu Yue village, they once again headed towards the merchant caravan's direction. The wind blew past their ears, and their view followed the treasure brass toad as it moved up and down. The moonlight shone on everyone's faces and they all looked solemn, while Jia Fu's face was cold as ice. After a while, a close subordinate could not stand this atmosphere and asked Jia Fu, "Master, what are we going to do now? Jia Jin Sheng's death. Once Master returns, how will you answer to old Master? Should we find a scapegoat first?" Jia Fu shook his head but avoided the question. Do you know the story of Ren Zhu? The subordinate was stunned, not expecting this answer. At once he did not know how to reply. Jia Fu continued. Ren Zhu had the rules and regulation Gu, and could capture all the 10,000 Gu in the world, obtaining strength but losing wisdom. At that point his net still contained 3 Gu. He opened and saw that they were the attitude Gu, belief Gu, and suspicion Gu respectively. Ren Zhu was unwilling to let them go, thus the 3 Gu could only bet with him. Once Ren Zhu opens the net, they would run out in 3 different directions, and whoever is captured by Ren Zhu would be subdued. Guess who did Ren Zhu capture in the end? The trusted aide thought and answered, "It's the attitude Gu." Do you know why? Jia Fu asked. The loyal subordinate shook his head. Jia Fu laughed, because attitude means everything. No matter if father believes or suspects, I have already displayed my attitude. Jia Jin Sheng went missing, and I immediately conducted investigations in the caravan. Once I had a clue, I rushed towards the Gu Yue clan without stop. At the village, I risked the danger of being attacked by them and interrogated them on the spot. I did not even sit down, and to prove Fang Yuan's words, I went as far as to use the rank 4 bamboo gentleman. Once I get back, I will even spend a ton of money to employ the divine investigator, inviting Tai Lengzhu to investigate this matter. Regardless of whether Jia Jin Sheng is dead or alive, as his brother I have already done all that I should. My attitude shows everything. I have thought it through earlier. We do not need a scapegoat. We shall go back in this honest state because I was not at fault for this matter. Finding a scapegoat, that might just be a trap by Jia Gui. If I can find a scapegoat, he can also find someone to overturn the case. His subordinate was shocked and said, "Master, you really suspect that young Master Jia Gui was behind this?" HMPH, who else but him can do something so perfectly? Saying so, Jia Fu's face distorted, anger bursting from his eyes. Before this, I was thinking about our blood relationship and did not do such a thing to him. But since he is so devious, I will have to pay him back an eye for an eye. Don't blame me for being unscrupulous. He did not know that far away in a distant place, there were a pair of eyes sending him off. Fang Yuan stood on the hillside as he silently watched. The view tonight was truly spectacular. The golden yellow, round moon was high up in the night sky, shining so brightly that the entire earth was lit bright. The nearby green mountains were verdant and lush, all kinds of flora growing about. The Man Mountain's pine and cypress trees, as well as the Qing Mao Mountain's distinctive green spear bamboo grew in continuous clumps, cluster after cluster. A wide expanse of dark green color poured down in torrents from the mountaintop and flowed down to the foot of the mountain. Faraway mountains ranged endlessly, forming a muddled heavy black shadow under the moonlight. The tortuous and entwined mountain road resembled goat intestines as it meandered into the distance, occasionally sheltered away by the forest, stretching out all the way. Jia Fu and his group sat atop the treasure brass toad, following the mountain road as they moved forward. As they continued on the leaping toad, their figures were finally covered away by the trees. Although the mountain terrain could not affect the treasure brass toad's speed, Jia Fu did not dare to recklessly cut through Qingmao Mountain, for if he barges into a monster horde, even with his rank 4 cultivation, he would still not come out unscathed. Hence, following the mountain trail and moving forward is the best path. Not long ago, Fang Yuan was standing on the hill holding an umbrella, sending the caravan off. But now he was here again, watching Jia Fu leave. The trouble from killing Jia Jin Sheng is finally settled. His eyes were dark and remote while his heart was calm, a bout of peacefulness. Even since he killed Jia Jin Sheng that night, he had been considering how to tie the loose ends. He was clear that without base or support, if the truth was revealed, the Gu Yue clan would definitely sacrifice him. But if he just hid it blindly, the truth was bound to get exposed one day. A smart way to lie is to have truth and lies, some truth in his lies and some lies in his truth. He had to direct the trouble elsewhere. This incident was like a chess game with two sides against each other. One side is Jia Fu's caravan, while the other is the Gu Yue clan. In this incident, be it Gu Yue Bo, the Academy Elder, or Jia Fu, they were all pawns. Heck, even Fang Yuan himself was just a pawn. To protect the pawn that represents himself, he had to use the two opposing sides and find a chance in between. Few days ago, Fang Yuan had already started plotting. He first made use of those two guards to come up with a good show with the Academy Elder at the Academy. Next, he hid the existence of the liquor worm and stirred the curiosity of the clansmen, gaining great attention, attracting the higher-ups. Simultaneously, he allowed the Academy Elder to hold private investigations. Next, he extorted his classmates and expressed his rashness, wildness, and displeasure towards the clan, showing weakness to the Gu Yue higher-ups. Then he counted the days and waited for Jia Fu. During the interrogation, he displayed his immaturity and fear, which allowed him to lead the others' thoughts by the nose, letting them find out the truth. Lastly, he made use of the Gu Yue clan and Jia Fu's opposing interests, and turned the Academy Elder, who was suspicious of him and held investigations, into his eyewitness. The bamboo gentleman was a small, unexpected accident, but it was still a rank 4 Gu, and under the spring-autumn cicada's aura, the bamboo gentleman ironically became Fang Yuan's greatest evidence. Finally, Fang Yuan not only explained perfectly where he got the liquor worm, but also pushed the blame to the innocent Jia Gui, while he himself got out of this incident without losing a hair. Academy Elder was asked to stay behind. It seems that Gu Yue Bo is going to interfere in the Academy's matters and get rid of the plan to pressurize me. With his nature, he does have this tolerance. But his real motive isn't me. It should probably be Fang Zheng. One of my motives for blowing up the matter was to stir a commotion and make the higher-ups notice. If Gu Yue Bo doesn't show up, there will still be Gu Yue Mo Chen and Kai Lion who would come out to defend their reputation. As for Jia Fu, he should be certain that Jia Gui is the culprit now. With the flames of revenge burning in his chest, I am looking forward to it. With my interference, their sibling conflict would be elevated. I wonder if that Gu master competition would be brought forward. Oh yes, there is still that divine investigator Tai Lengzhu. Tai Lengzhu, HMPH. Fang Yuan repeated this name and after half a beat lightly smiled. Among the righteous path, this is indeed a character. Unfortunately, he is riddled with official business and has a tight schedule. For this matter, it is not easy to get him to come. Jia Fu wants to show his attitude, thus he has to invite him. But the time is hard to gauge. At the very least, it should be arranged in 2 to 3 years' time. In 2 to 3 years, he would have ranked 2 or 3 cultivation. By then, life would be in a completely different sight. The night wind blew over with the fresh, cool air of the mountains, penetrating with a kind of fragrance. Fang Yuan breathed in, feeling more refreshed. He looked into the distance, his field of view wide. The unrestrained mountains were picturesque, looking tranquil and auspicious under the moon. The bright moon illuminates among pines, the clear spring flows upon stone. Fang Yuan lightly recited. He could not help but think of a verse from a fable from Earth. There were a group of monkeys that pursued the moon. They saw the moon in the well, and they wanted to fish it up. The monkey from behind grabbed hold of the tail of the monkey before it, and the monkey before it grabbed a hold of the monkey in front of him. Thus this went on repeatedly until the first monkey was able to touch the water surface of the well. Once it stretched out its hand, the water rippled and the moon disappeared. People in this world were like this. They would see the reflection of the moon and think that it is the real thing, not knowing it was just the moon in the well, the moon in their eyes, or simply the moon in their hearts. In this life, I hope to become the real moon, rising above the mountains and heavens, toying with the clouds and seas, following the ancient times and walk in the darkness above the various heavens. Fang Yuan's eyes were crystal clear, and the beautiful green mountains were reflected on his pupils. On the hill, the thin body of a teenager stood silently. A golden moon wheel shaped like a disc, suspended high in the night sky. It has existed since ancient times, traveling through the night sky, casting the small shadow of the teenager faintly onto the limestones. The night sky of early summer is beautiful. There was not a single cloud floating in the sky, and the stars flickered like crystals, shining with emotionally moving radiance. Sandalwood crickets appeared on stage to take over the place of the dragonpill crickets, and they sang their emotional songs in the grassy bushes, creeks, and tree branches. The Gu Yue village was radiantly lit, as if it was reflecting the bright starry sky. One by one, the dark green bamboo houses stood in the night wind, and beneath the star dome it had a tranquil and peaceful ambience. Fang Yuan was not in the village now, but he had snuck into the secret cave among the rock cracks. He half-kneeled on the ground, his hand caressing the image wall, his palm emitting a lump of blue-colored moonlight. On the image wall, the original scene was already gone, and it was now no different from the other surrounding stone walls. If Fang Yuan did not remember this position, who else would know that hidden under this image wall was Flower Wine Monk's strength inheritance? On a night over a month ago, the image wall transformed and the Flower Wine Monk's secret hideout appeared. The image wall first showed a video of Flower Wine Monk bathed in blood, but proclaimed he was leaving his inheritance. Next was a line of bloody words, hinting for the discoverer to break the image wall, and the cave opening would appear. Then the words vanished, and the image wall's photo audio Gu's strength was depleted, and the image wall went back to being an ordinary wall. Although he knew about the Flower Wine Monk's inheritance, Fang Yuan did not have the time to explore it. As it was an unexpected occurrence, he had to kill Jia Jin Sheng on the spot and was busy that night getting rid of the evidence. Towards the impending interrogation, he had to plot carefully and had restricted his activities inside the village. Until when Jia Fu left, and after the academy elder stopped his investigations. About 10 days later, the attention had waned and Fang Yuan could finally sneak back into the cave. In the aperture, the green copper sea was reducing, as Fang Yuan deployed his primeval essence into the moonlight goo on his right palm. The moonlight goo emitted a gentle moonlight and flickered continuously. Under its effect, the rock wall was shaved off slowly, and large amounts of rock powder fell on the ground. This was Fang Yuan's extensive control of the moonlight goo, the same method he used to open the gambling rocks. Compared to opening rocks, this method was more coarse, but in breaking this thick rock wall, this method seemed a little too gentle. This was the 6th day that Fang Yuan was using the moonlight goo to shave the rock wall. On the floor was a thick pile of dark red-colored rock powder. Logically speaking, Qingmao Mountain soil was all green-colored, but here the soil were strangely bright red and emitted a dark glow. But fortunately so, because of this source of light, Fang Yuan did not need to prepare a torch. In order to avoid being suspected, Fang Yuan did not use any tools. Steel hammers and pickaxe were undoubtedly better for breaking the rock wall, but if he did, the sound of the wall breaking would reverb all over the area. Regardless of whether the outside world would hear a faint or loud noise, Fang Yuan wanted to eliminate all such possible suspicious points. Fine details often decided in one's victory or defeat. To Fang Yuan, being cautious is not just his good point, it was more like a habit to him. In his past life he had been careless and carefree, but he quickly paid a hefty price. There is a saying that goes, people get more cowardly when they age. Yet actually this is not cowardice, but patient cautiousness. 500 years of experience ingrained the word caution into his soul. Puff, taking in a deep breath, Fang Yuan slowly stopped the transmission of his primeval essence. He plopped onto the ground, extremely exhausted. He had dug around 3 inches of thickness, out of the entire slab of image wall that was the height of half a man. Fang Yuan wiped the sweat off his forehead while exercising his shoulders and stretching his legs. Due to long hours of squatting, a sense of numbness was felt from his legs. Knock, knock, knock. Fang Yuan bent his fingers and knocked on the rock wall. Hearing the sound, he was slightly happy in his heart, as he could tell the wall was getting thinner. Closing his eyes to meditate, he checked the situation inside his aperture once again. The green copper primeval essence had less than 20% left. Continue working hard. Fang Yuan grit his teeth and stretched out his right hand again on the rock wall. The water blue-colored moonlight sustained a glow for around 15 minutes. Then Fang Yuan suddenly halted his actions. He took out his right arm and found out that the rock wall had a small hole in it already. He immediately stood up and kicked. With a thunderous noise, the hole expanded and became as big as a bamboo basket. Fang Yuan cautiously took a few steps backwards. He felt a sense of staleness emitting from the hole and permeating into this secret cave. The secret cave's ventilation was not good. Fang Yuan thought about it for a moment and decided to leave the rock crack, returning to the outside world. Only after a while did he return. The stale feeling in the cave was slightly better than earlier, and Fang Yuan continued to expand the size of the hole, sometimes using the moonlight goo, and at other times using his hands to dig or his legs to kick. After a while, he finally expanded the hole into a size that he could fit into. Looking from the hole, there was a diagonal path downwards. The path was initially narrow, but the deeper it was, the wider it got. A person must lower their head when entering at first, but towards the latter half of the path, they are able to take large strides with straightened backs. The cave's walls were a weird red soil color, emitting a faint red glow. This caused the passage's interior to be visible. But the path was very long and extended beyond what the eye could see. Due to the angle, Fang Yuan could not see what was at the end of the path. He stood at the cave entrance and did not immediately step in, instead squinting and standing on the spot. A strength inheritance was not like a legacy inheritance. Legacy was when a Gu master died and left behind his belongings. Those who find this legacy can find the items on the corpse. A strength inheritance is when a Gu master who is on the verge of death and reluctant to let his legacy go extinct, or to benefit the future generations, or wants to leave behind his last trace of existence in the world, purposely set hurdles to test the people who arrive. Taking the flower wine monk, for example, he set up this inheritance with a clear objective. It is to nurture an avenger, to take revenge on the Gu Yue clan. If the person who comes along is able to pass these trials, she would obtain all sorts of benefits. The person who gets through the final test would obtain the entire strength inheritance. According to the two factions, strength inheritance is split into the righteous inheritance and the demonic inheritance. Righteous inheritances often had exquisite design to test the nature and character of the person. Those who fail midway would not be in any mortal danger. Demonic inheritance was more complex. Those demonic cultivators were often insane and persistent, cold-blooded, or a mass murderer, unable to be assessed by normal standards. Some demonic inheritances had trials that tested the mind. With lots of mind-boggling decisions to make, a lot of people would fall into deep and painful thoughts without getting a single result. Some demonic inheritances were extremely simple, being a secret room with Gu worms and primeval stones inside. Some demonic inheritances were extremely cruel, and failure midway often spelled death. Some were more extreme. A few demonic cultivators' inheritances were a huge lie, being a giant trap itself. They followed the rules of bringing someone down with them, and even right before dying, they would set up this trial and trick others. Which type does flower wine monk's inheritance belong to? Fang Yuan thought deeply. With his previous life's memories, he was clear of any future famous demonic inheritances. But this one in particular, no one discovered it in his lifetime, and Fang Yuan was left unaware of the details. By right, the chances of a trap isn't high. Otherwise, the flower wine monk would not design this image wall. But is there a hidden mechanism? Fang Yuan picked up a rock and threw it into the cave. The rock rolled in the path and quickly rolled out of Fang Yuan's sight. He could hear a series of colliding sounds echoing in the cave. Fang Yuan fell into deep thought. The rock testing results showed that it was safe. But he did not enter the path yet, and instead took out some rock powder and spread it around the entrance of the secret cave. At the same time, he spread a layer on the rock crack entrance. Next, he squeezed out of the narrow rock crack and left the place. Around a few hundred meters from the river in a hidden bush, he found the green bamboo wine that he had brought along this time. Opening the seal, he drank a huge mouthful and purposely spilled some of the liquor, getting it on his clothes and making him smell of alcohol. Carrying the wine, he went back to the village, and upon reaching the school hostel, it was exactly midnight. If he did not return at night often, people would get suspicious. This was better, going out early at night and returning late at night. When finding the liquor worm, Fang Yuan already did this, and with that background, such behavior was not peculiar. The stars fade and the sun appears, a night of silence. The bright morning sun shone on Qingmao Mountain. In the academy, the elder spoke about important details. Tomorrow, we are choosing the second Gu worm for refinement. Everyone here has experience in successfully refining Gu worms, and this time you can solidify your experiences. For the selection of the second goo worm, consider it carefully. With the experience of cultivating these few days and understanding of your own body, consider it as a whole. Normally, it is best if you pair the second goo well with your vital goo. A goo master's first goo was known as the vital goo, and once it was chosen, it would be the footing stone of their development. After that, the second and third goo worm would be nurtured upon this footing stone and decide the goo master's cultivating direction. After hearing the academy elder's words, the youngsters began to ponder, and only Fang Yuan was sleeping soundly on the table. He had worked hard for half the night yesterday, and after returning to the hostel, he still continued in his goo master cultivation, nurturing his aperture. When the sun had risen, only then did he sleep. The academy elder looked at Fang Yuan and frowned, but did not say anything. Ever since the clan leader spoke to him, he had adopted a let Fang Yuan do as he wishes. I am not going to give a care attitude. Which goo worm should I choose? As the students thought about it, they subconsciously looked towards Fang Yuan. Speaking of which, Fang Yuan already has his second goo worm. Yeah, that is but a liquor worm. To actually get a liquor worm out of gambling rocks, his luck is off the charts. If I had the liquor worm, I would advance to middle stage first too. The students' thoughts varied, having admirers and jealous people among them. Ever since that day after the interrogation, Fang Yuan's liquor worm was successfully exposed. The origins of the liquor worm did not raise suspicion. The clansmen were both enlightened and also exasperated at Fang Yuan's luck. Why don't I have such luck, sigh? Gu Yue Kai-cheng, who was also a C-grade talent, sighed deeply in his heart. Quite a while ago, his grandfather had asked around and tried to procure a liquor worm for him. To think that even as a family branch's inheritor, he was not able to have one. To think Fang Yuan managed to get the liquor worm before him. Compared to Kai Cheng's envy and depression, Vice Chairman Fang Zheng was full of spirit. Brother, I will definitely surpass you. He looked at Fang Yuan and said in his heart before looking away. These days his eyes were shining with light, and he felt a sort of excitement towards life. His face was flushing red and his forehead was glowing. Even his steps were quicker and lighter. The academy elder saw all of it, and immediately understood that the Gu Yue clan leader had started secretly teaching Fang Zheng. These underhand methods were obviously not for the public to know. The academy elder turned a blind eye to this. Soon it was night once more. Fang Yuan entered the secret cave again. Ring, ring, ring. In his hand, a wild rabbit was struggling, and there was a bell was on its neck. This was a wild rabbit that Fang Yuan caught on the mountain. The bell was naturally attached by him. After a day, the stuffy smell in the secret cave has dissipated, and the air was fresh. The cave's passage entrance was open. It was silent inside. Fang Yuan half-kneeled on the floor as he inspected the floor. Yesterday he had sprayed rock powder all over the area, and this thin layer of powder was inconspicuous. The passage entrance's rock powder is intact, thus it seems that during my absence nothing strange has crawled out of it. The rock crack entrance does have a footprint, but that's mine, so evidently no one else had come here. Fang Yuan felt at ease after his inspection. He stood up, using his hands to pull the dead vines from the wall. Next he sat on the ground and his leg was used to hold the wild rabbit in place, leaving his two hands free to weave the vines. This was work that normal Gu masters wouldn't know, but Fang Yuan had too much life experience. In his past life, many a time was he so poor that he couldn't afford to feed his Gu worms, leaving them to starve to death one by one. For a time he had primeval essence but no Gu worms. He became just like a mortal person. Even living was difficult. Having no choice, he learned to weave the grass ropes into straw sandals, hats, etc., and sold them in exchange for primeval stone fragments to feed himself. While twisting the grass ropes in his hands, Fang Yuan's memories resurfaced. The anguish and suffering from back then had transformed into his soundless laughter now. The rabbit underneath his foot continued to struggle, the bell ringing non-stop. A pair of two strings touch for long, 10,000s of twists and thousands of returns make their inseparable love numerous. Delicately and slowly with the passing of years, letting them converge. Complications, entanglements and turns present. Weaving the grass ropes, isn't it just like experiencing life? In the secret cave, the red light shone onto Fang Yuan's face, showing his youthfulness and experience intertwining together on his face. Time seemed to have stopped too, silently appreciating the young man weaving his ropes. Ring, ring, ring. An hour later, the wild rabbit rapidly entered the passageway, the bell on its neck ringing continuously. In a few breaths it left Fang Yuan's field of vision. Fang Yuan held onto the improvised grass rope that he wove temporarily, and on one end the rope was attached to the rabbit's hind leg, dragging into the tunnel with it. After a while the rope stopped all movement. But this did not mean the rabbit had reached the end of the tunnel. It could have been killed by a trap or just decided to take a rest midway. Fang Yuan began to pull at the rope, retrieving it. The rope gradually tightened as he tugged. On the other end, a force of strength suddenly tugged back as the rope started to move towards the cave again. Evidently, the rabbit on the other side had felt the tugging force and in its fluster, started to move deeper into the cave. After many attempts, the rabbit finally reached the end of the path, and no matter how Fang Yuan tugged at the rope, it only tightened and relaxed. Maybe the rabbit had reached the end of the tunnel, or maybe it had fallen into a trap and got stuck. It was simple to test and find out the answer. Fang Yuan started to retrieve the rope. His strength surpassed the rabbit by a mile, and eventually he dragged the rabbit out by force. The rabbit struggled at the other end, but the rope was made from materials acquired from the wine sack flour goo and rice pouch grass goo. Although it had been dead for years, it remained sturdy unlike normal grass. The wild rabbit was once again in Fang Yuan's hands jumping about. Fang Yuan inspected the wild rabbit and saw that it had no injuries. Then he finally breathed out in relief. For now, it seems that this segment of the passageway is safe. With this result, the rabbit thus lost its value, and Fang Yuan killed it instantly, throwing the corpse on the ground. He could not let the rabbit go, for animals also had memories. If it came back again and like the liquor worm attracted outsiders, that would be very bad. He breathed in deeply. After several tries and probes, he finally stepped into the passageway carefully. Even with the wild rabbit exploring, there were many traps and mechanisms that specially targeted only humans. A small animal like the wild rabbit would be unable to trigger it. Thus, Fang Yuan still had to be careful. The tunnel was straight, diagonally slanting towards the bottom. The deeper it was, the wider and taller the passage became. Fang Yuan had to lower his head when entering at first, but after more than 50 steps, he was able to take large strides with a straightened back, and after 100 steps, he could walk while lifting his upper arms and brandishing them left and right. The tunnel was not that long, it was only around 300 meters. But Fang Yuan spent around 2 hours venturing before he finally reached the end of the path. On the way, he was vigilant and explored step by step. At the end of the path, he was already sweating profusely. It is so troublesome without a detection goo worm. Fang Yuan wiped the sweat off his forehead and after confirming his safety, calmed down and inspected the area. This time at one glance, he was stunned. At the end of the tunnel, there was a huge rock. The rock's surface was smooth and protruded towards Fang Yuan's direction, resembling Jia Fu's belly. This rock alone halted Fang Yuan's progression. Other than this huge rock, there was nothing around Fang Yuan. Is it because of an accident that the tunnel path was blocked, causing this? Fang Yuan squinted as he thought about the possibilities. Before the flower wine monk died, he was eager to set up the inheritance. He used the 1,000-li earthwolf spider and created a tunnel path. The path led deep within the mountains and to guide the inheritor in. After hundreds of years, the passage was unable to withstand the corrosion of time, and at one point, one of the areas collapsed due to lack of maintenance. All sorts of accidents often happen in life. If this is the case, won't I be stuck at this point? He went forward and touched the rock. This rock was halting his progression. Its size was like a door. One could only imagine its overall thickness. Fang Yuan could use the moonlight goo to carve away at the rock wall, but if he wanted to grind off this huge rock, it would take at least a year or two. It seems like I'm forced to use tools. I'll need to use spades and pickaxes to break the rock. Except if I do this, I might reveal some traces. The construction sounds might also travel out. Thinking of this, Fang Yuan frowned deeply. He was weighing the pros and cons. If the risk was too huge, he would rather give up this strength inheritance. After all, if others found out this secret, all the plotting and acting that Fang Yuan had done would go to waste, and his life would even be in danger. The sun rises, signifying the arrival of another day. The students lined up properly, faces flushed with excitement as they stood before the Academy Goo storage room. Today was the day where they would pick their second Goo. As the first to advance to middle stage, Fang Yuan had the priority in choosing, thus he stood at the front of the queue. Behind him was Gu Yue Mo Chen, Gu Yue Fang Zheng and Gu Yue Kai Cheng. Creak! The Gu storage room's door was opened by the guards, and Fang Yuan was the first to set foot into it. The Gu room was not big, but was a sight to behold. The surrounding walls had square holes in them. Some were big, but others were small, holding all sorts of containers in them. There was rock pots, jade pots, cages made of weaved grass, and some porcelain ware. All sorts of goo worms, being all rank 1, were stored in these containers. The Academy probably spent more than 1,000 primeval stones every day just to feed these goo worms. Fang Yuan glanced through and found that in many containers they were already empty, having no goo worms inside. The goo worms in the storage room were replenished once a year. Previously, when they were choosing their vital goo, most of the youngsters chose the moonlight goo. Thus, the storage room had no moonlight goo left at the moment. The storage room had no windows. There was only a small skylight at the rooftop. The sunlight shone in from the skylight and formed a rectangular golden image on the ground. The first time when he entered the goo room, Fang Yuan already had an objective and chose the moonlight goo immediately. But now, he had several possible targets in his mind. Yet these targets also depended on whether there was stock in the storage room. Fang Yuan moved along the left wall and strolled inside slowly while examining the catalog. 5 steps later, he paused. A square box frame near his shoulder had a bronze bowl inside, and within it was a goo worm. This goo worm was like a bedbug, flat and wide with a small head, having an oval body. It was yellow-orange throughout and emitted a faint bronze-like glow. This was the bronze skin goo, the choice for most close combat goo masters. The Academy's martial arts instructor raised such a goo, and once activated, causes the body to glow yellow, greatly raising defense. Fang Yuan's knowledge was deep and broad, so of course he did not have any urge for this goo. He continued forward and saw a stone skin goo. The stone skin goo and bronze skin goo were similar in appearance, but the stone skin goo's body was gray instead, like an art piece made of rock. After 6 stone skin goo, there was the iron skin goo. Iron skin goo and bronze skin goo were outwardly similar, but with only a tiny difference. It was silently staying in an iron bowl, unmoving. It emitted a black iron-like glow around its body. As humans have clans, so do goo. The three goo that Fang Yuan saw simultaneously were all from the same series. They were similar in appearance and had similar effects. Iron skin, bronze skin, rock skin, jade skin goo. If there is a jade skin goo, I might as well choose it. Fang Yuan mumbled as his heart felt a tiny flicker of expectation rising, and he continued walking. However, he was destined to be disappointed, for after the iron skin goo, he saw the beast skin goo. The jade skin goo and beast skin goo belonged to the same series as the bronze skin goo, etc., but they had great difference in value. The beast skin goo was the most common, even cheaper than the rock skin goo, but it had more evolutionary lines and could fuse with more varieties of goo. The jade skin goo was the most rare goo in this series. Its market value was only second to the liquor worm, and at times the price would fluctuate and rival with the liquor worm itself. Fang Yuan took a look, but he did not find a jade skin goo. He was not disappointed but laughed in relief. Gu Yue Village is just a middle-sized clan. The Academy Gu storage room is only of middle-tier quality. To have a jade skin goo, that is rather impossible. The left side of the wall had already been inspected, so Fang Yuan swapped to another wall and continued strolling. On this wall, there was mostly the longhorn beetle goo. Similar to the skin goo series, longhorn beetle goo was a large clan among the rank 1 goo worms. Their outer appearances were similar. They had long and circular cylinder figures, the back area having many outlines. A large part of the body was a black color, giving out a metallic luster. It had a pair of feelers that were long and exceeded the body size. Its chin was strong and it gave out screeching noises, like the sound of timber being sawed. With this, a few goo masters from some places would call them as the sawing tree bunch. What first entered Fang Yuan's vision was a brute force longhorn beetle goo. Its entire body was a red metallic color, and it had a pair of antennae that was coarser than the usual longhorn beetle ones. On the top surface of the antenna, there was a bamboo joint-like growth with every small interval. This brute force longhorn beetle goo was highly sought after in the market. Earlier, the caravan that came to the Gu Yue village had people who sold large numbers of this goo. The brute force longhorn beetle goo gave goo masters temporary super strength. It had the reputation of the strength of 1 bull and could sustain for 5 breaths. But it had 2 weaknesses. One was that every activation consumed too much primeval essence. Rank 1 middle stage required 10% primeval essence, but if converted to initial stage, it would consume 20%. Another was sequela. If the goo master had a weak constitution, using this goo a lot would cause their muscles to get injured, even experiencing muscle tearing. Only goo masters with a strong body would choose to use this goo. A small-sized person like Fang Yuan was unsuitable for it. Fang Yuan knew this too, and walked past the brute force longhorn beetle goo, continuing to look around. Oh, this is not bad. He halted his steps. It was a yellow camel, longhorn beetle goo. The beetle's figure was a tiny bit thinner and longer than the brute force longhorn beetle goo, the entire body coated in dark yellow color. Its pair of long feelers did not have bamboo joints, and the roots were yellow in color, slowly fatting into black at the tip. The brute force longhorn beetle goo could grant a goo master temporary strength, and this type of strength was immediate, only lasting for 5 breaths. But the yellow camel longhorn beetle goo could grant the goo master durability and allow their stamina expenditure to be greatly reduced. However, it could only sustain for 15 minutes. At the same time, it had no repercussions. Among the rank 1 goo worms, the yellow camel longhorn beetle had high market value, comparable to the moonlight goo, and only losing to the jade skin goo and liquor worm. Fang Yuan inspected the surroundings and found that there was only 1 yellow camel longhorn beetle. The goo is not bad, but it is not compatible with me. Fang Yuan shook his head, giving up this goo. Very quickly he walked and reached the corner of the wall, having finished looking at the second wall, but he was not satisfied. The goo in the storage room were only of this quality, and if he wanted to get lucky or get a surprise goo, the chances were slim. Fang Yuan turned to the third wall and continued inspecting. On this wall, the boar goo were dominant. Boar goo was a series among the goo worm. There's the flower boar goo, pink boar goo, black boar goo, and white boar goo. Pink boar goo had the least value. Almost no goo masters chose them. It only had one ability, and that is to gain weight. After a goo master injects their primeval essence, the pink boar goo would change their constitution and cause them to get fat. No matter how skinny they would be able to become a big fat person. There was only 2 to 3 pink boar goo in the storage room, obviously of no nurturing value. The flower boar goo was the most abundant, having a dozen at least lining into a row. These goo worms had flower patterns on the surface, either white and black, black and pink, or white and pink. There were even some that had all 3 colors. The flower boar goo's use was similar to the brute force longhorn beetle goo, temporarily adding strength to the goo master. The brute force longhorn beetle goo gave one bull's strength, and the flower boar goo gave one boar's strength. The flower boar goo spent the same amount of primeval essence as the brute force longhorn beetle goo, but could sustain for 10 breaths, twice of the brute force longhorn beetle goo. This was because the goo master gained lesser strength, thus lesser side effects. The flower boar goo is the most common goo worm, and it is sold most abundantly in the market. Its price is half of the brute force longhorn beetle goo, truly value for money. But among the boar goo clan, only those 2 last goo has greater value, being even more expensive than the jade skin goo and liquor worm. Fang Yuan's eyes showed a light of deep thoughts. A black boar goo or a white boar goo could sell for 600 primeval stones in the market. Once it appeared, it was often sold immediately. The black and white boar goo's ability was to change the goo master's body constitution and raise their strength permanently. Although the brute force longhorn beetle could grant a bull's strength, it could only last 5 breaths, uses too much energy to sustain, and had strong aftereffects. The black and white boar's strength increment, although little at a time, would be accumulative over time, and once obtained, the strength would belong to the goo master wholly. Even if the goo dies, this strength will still remain on the goo master's body. This is the reason why the black and white boar goo's value is higher than the liquor worm. The public recognizes that the liquor worm's value should be slightly inferior to the black or white boar goo. The liquor worm can only refine primeval essence, and after an intense battle, a goo master's primeval essence is easily depleted. For the remainder of the battle, they can only rely on their martial arts and their physical strength. This is when the white and black goo show their worth. They are more reliable than the liquor worm. If I can refine a black boar goo or white boar goo, that would be good. Fang Yuan was just imagining the scenario, but with this type of goo storage room which only has one yellow camel longhorn beetle, how can there be white or black boar goo which are so rare? He walked another round and saw all the goo worms the room had to offer. As expected, there was nothing that truly captivated him. At last, he retrieved a little light goo at a corner of the wall. There were 5 little light goo in the storage room. This goo was oddly shaped, looking like a pentagram and only half as large as a fingernail. The little light goo was mainly paired with the moonlight goo, a common assistance-type goo worm for the moonlight goo. To Fang Yuan had chosen this goo, it was merely an average option, but at least it suited his development path. Fang Yuan is out. Geez, finally out after so long. I wonder what goo he chose. He already has the liquor worm. This is his 3rd goo. Maybe he won't be able to raise them properly. Hee hee. Fang Yuan leisurely walked out of the storage room. The students were outside for such a long time and had started to become restless. It's my turn. I wonder what Gu has Fang Yuan chosen. Once Gu Yue Mo Chen saw Fang Yuan stepping out, he hurriedly took big steps and entered the storage room. He checked and found that the sole yellow camel longhorn beetle was still there. Mo Chen could not refrain from becoming overjoyed, immediately taking it away. Afterwards, Fang Zheng went in. I have the moonlight Gu for offense, but I lack a defensive type Gu worm. Gu Yue Fang Zheng, after long consideration, decided to choose a bronze skin Gu. Gu Yue Kai Cheng was the fourth to enter. I need an evasion ability, so in future battles I will be able to hit others, but others cannot hit me. I'll be virtually unbeatable. He looked left and right and finally chose a dragon pill cricket Gu. The sun lowers and the moon rises, the signal of the arrival of nightfall. This was one of the concealed courtyard in the Gu Yue village. A locust tree that stood with complicated branches and luxuriant leaves. Its robust and spacious treetop that was like a jasper imperial canopy enveloped the entire courtyard. The moonlight was gentle like water, traveling through the leaves and branches of the locust tree, spilling into the courtyard. A gust of wind blew over, sending the tree leaves rustling, the shadows of the tree swaying slightly. It was under this tree that two people stood. Gu Yue Bo used a gentle gaze and looked at Fang Zheng. Fang Zheng, today you chose your second Gu, I wonder what it is. Reporting to clan leader, sir, today I chose a bronze skin Gu. Gu Yue Fang Zheng stood rigid, saying with a look of admiration. Gu Yue Bo nodded, and after pondering he replied, not bad, it is a good choice. Gu Yue Fang Zheng stood before Gu Yue Bo, his body tensed and tightened. Hearing Gu Yue Bo's praise, he did not know how to reply for a while, so in the end he only laughed. Clan leader, I chose randomly. You think I'm not serious in praising you? No. Gu Yue Bo stared at Fang Zheng, a smile on his face. Do you know, from choosing a Gu it shows a person's disposition. You chose the bronze skin Gu for defense. Paired with the moonlight Gu, it is both offense and defense. This shows your pure nature. In this world, offense and defense are like frontal and ambush, yin and yang, soft and hard. This is the king's path. Gu Yue Mobe chose the yellow camel longhorn beetle. This Gu grants stamina and allows him to sustain battle. This shows his stubborn and strong attitude. As for Gu Yue Kai Cheng, he chose the dragon pill cricket Gu, allowing him to increase his dodging ability. This shows he does not like frontal attacks, being a witty person, good at tactics, but also showed the weakness in his character. Gu Yue Fang Zheng was stunned after listening, for he did not expect that such a simple matter could reveal that much information and logic. Consequently, his attitude towards Gu Yue Bo became even more respectful. Clan leader, what did my brother choose? Fang Zheng thought of Fang Yuan and immediately asked. Gu Yue Bo laughed. He chose the little light Gu. This Gu is used to assist the moonlight Gu and can make the moonblade attack stronger. This shows his extreme, active, and invasive personality. Indeed, Big Brother seems to be like that, Fang Zheng muttered. Gu Yue Bo took Fang Zheng's expression into consideration and etched it into his mind. Those who were rulers had their unique ability. Although Gu Yue Bo and Fang Zheng did not interact for long, Gu Yue Bo's experienced gaze had already seen through Fang Zheng. Him telling Fang Zheng about Mo Bei and Kai Cheng's decisions had deeper meaning. It was to help Fang Zheng analyze these two people, for he anticipated him defeating the two of them and establishing the role of clan leader with his agreed talent. But Gu Yue Bo would not say it out loud and would not instigate Fang Zheng's actions. As the clan leader, his every word and action had political implications. If he directly controlled Fang Zheng and dealt with Kai Cheng and Mo Bei, if word spread it might be misunderstood as the clan leader's political assault. If that's the case, The implication would be huge, and it might even cause a clan dispute, harming the entire village. There was another point. Gu Yuebo was waiting for Fang Zheng to understand his intentions. He spent time and effort to nurture Fang Zheng, but it was not to nurture a rank 4 or 5 fighter. A fighter without political knowledge was like a double-edged sword. He needed the future leader for the clan. I analyzed Mo Bei and Kai Cheng's personality for Fang Zheng, but he did not notice my intention, instead asking about Fang Yuan's situation. It seems that he has great trauma regarding Fang Yuan, but he is also at his rebellious stage. He wants to beat Fang Yuan, that's understandable. Sai, if only Fang Zheng had Fang Yuan's intelligence. I've seen many youngsters these years, but when it comes to political wits, Fang Yuan tops them all. It is a pity he only has C-grade talent. Gu Yuebo sighed internally, but his smile got even more gentle. He took out a goo worm from his pocket. This is jade skin goo. Fang Zheng, on seeing this goo worm, said lightly with his eyes wide open. Gu Yuebo said, compared to the bronze skin goo, this jade skin goo is much better, not only using less primeval essence but also gives greater defense. Fang Zheng, do you want it? Clan leader. Fang Zheng was shocked and he looked at Gu Yuebo, stuttering, of course I want it. I can give it to you. Gu Yuebo laughed even more amicably, but as the clan leader, I have to be impartial and cannot give it to you for no reason, thus I have a condition. Fang Zheng nodded repeatedly, staring widely. What condition? Gu Yuebo's smile vanished, showing a stern expression. I want you to be the first to break through rank 1 into rank 2, be the first place in terms of cultivation. And this jade skin goo is your advancement reward. Advance to rank 2. Gu Yue Fang Zheng hesitated for a moment. He had just become rank 1 middle stage. After middle stage was upper stage, and after that there was still peak stage. But now Gu Yuebo wanted him to be the first person to advance to rank 2. What's wrong, are you afraid? Then I can only give this goo to others. Gu Yuebo pretended to keep the jade skin goo. Fang Zheng was incited by this sentence. Immediately his brain heated up as he shouted, No, I promise you. I will defeat everyone and be the first rank 2 cultivator. That's the way. Gu Yuebo showed his gentle smile again, placing the jade skin goo on Fang Zheng's hand. He thought in his heart, Fang Zheng, I know you feel inferior, but this inferiority complex is too harmful to your growth. The best way to dispel your inferiority is success. You have a grade talent, so advancing to rank 2 first is your greatest advantage, and also the easiest success you can achieve. You must succeed, for if you fail even this, I would be too disappointed. At the same time, Fang Yuan stepped into the secret cave behind the rock crack again, getting into the end of the tunnel. This time he did not bring any steel spade, pickaxe, or hammer, but carefully observed the surroundings. He was discouraged by this setback the previous night, and on the way back to the village he felt something amiss. Only today in the dormitory, where he used the spring-autumn cicada to refine the little light goo, did he suddenly understand the weird part of this situation. This huge rock blocking my path is too round and smooth. This is definitely man-made. That is to say, the flower wine monk purposely set this to block the path, but why did he set this hurdle at such a place? Fang Yuan pondered. He looked at the surroundings again. The ground of the path was smooth and the top was curved. The walls on both sides were red soil, emitting a red light. When he looked at the ground again, he found a point of suspicion. The ground near the giant rock was slightly darker in color. This color difference was not very obvious and not easily found under such a dimly lit environment. Fang Yuan knelt down, touching the ground, feeling a sense of wetness. No wonder the color was darker, it was wet. But this path was so dry, where was the water coming from? Fang Yuan grinded the soil with his fingers, finding out that the soil on this patch of earth had issues. It was very soft and loose, not lumpy like the dry red soil. Fang Yuan's gaze shone. Experience and intuition told him that this area had the key that the flower wine monk had hidden. And this key was the clue that would allow him to continue moving forward. Fang Yuan began to dig the soil. It was loose, so he did not spend much effort. After digging for around an inch deeper, there was a peculiar fragrance rushing into Fang Yuan's nostrils. This fragrance is thick and luxurious, yet not common. It seems delicate and elegant, could it be? Fang Yuan's heart moved as he thought of a possibility, his hands moving even faster. While digging, the area under the soil suddenly emitted a faint dark gold light. It really is what I'm thinking of. Fang Yuan's eyes shone, his hand movement becoming more delicate, carefully digging the surrounding soil away, expanding this hole. After a while, a dark gold-colored flower bud that was buried under the ground appeared in front of him. It was 2 inches deep in the ground, around the size of a stone mill. The bud's surface delicate, and with the dark gold color, it appeared to be mysterious and elegant. It really is the earth treasury flower goo. Seeing this, Fang Yuan breathed out deeply. He was not eager in peeling away the flower petals, but took a rest on the ground instead, wiping the soil off his hands. Then he slowly stretched his hand and pried open the dark gold-colored petals. The earth treasury flower goo was like the combination of a lotus and kale. Its petals were tightly knitted together with numerous thick pieces, slippery when felt. As Fang Yuan opened the petals one by one, it was like revealing thick layers of silk. Once it left the main body, the huge dark gold-colored petals would disperse quickly. It was like snowflakes that melted into the air. After uncovering around 50 to 60 pieces of petals, the bud had shrunk in half, revealing the flower core. The core's petals were smaller and thinner, its texture becoming more smooth and fine. It was no longer like silk, but more like thin pieces of paper. Fang Yuan's movements became gentler and slower, only opening a piece of petal in a few breaths. The petals became increasingly transparent, and after a while, when Fang Yuan had opened the pieces of thin paper-like petals, he stopped his movements. The earth treasury flower goo at this moment only had a last layer of petals left. These petals overlapped each other, forming a fist-sized ball. The petals were translucent, thin as paper. Inside these petals contained a golden liquid, and in the middle of this liquid, a goo worm was sleeping inside. Fang Yuan looked intently, but he could only see a blurry shadow of the goo worm, and he could not tell which goo it was. He was close to it, and his breath was blown on the flower core. The spherical flower core began to shake, the golden liquid also moving gently inside the petals. Goo worms would die without food, and only a few goo worms could seal themselves. To protect and conserve goo worms, goo masters have had thought of many methods. The earth treasury flower goo was one of them. It was a one-time use type goo, and once implanted on the ground, it could not be moved. Its food was simple, which was earth energy. As long as it was planted on the ground, it would be able to survive with sufficient earth energy. It only had one use, and that is to contain a goo within the flower heart and immerse the goo in the golden liquid. This golden nectar could, to an extent, imitate the sealing state and let goo worms fall into hibernation. The flower wine monk planted this earth treasury flower goo, so the goo within has to be for the inheritor. Fang Yuan stretched out a finger and peeled the remaining petals carefully, revealing an opening. The golden liquid flowed out along his finger, feeling like soybean oil. The flower core began to soften with the loss of the golden liquid. Fang Yuan moved his finger and the petals were split, allowing him to retrieve the slumbering goo worm. It was a cute ladybug, only the size of the thumb's fingernail. Its body was a milky white color, and if overlooked from the back, it was like a circle. Its head only occupied a small area, while the rest of the body was its large fat stomach and bright shiny exoskeleton. Its 6 tiny limbs were also cream-colored, hidden under its stomach. White boar goo, Fang Yuan showed an expression of joy on his face. The temperature these few days had gotten higher. The sun shone intensely in the afternoon, hanging right over everyone's head. The caravan left, and the inn's business fell again. Fang Yuan stepped into the cafeteria, immediately attracting the attention of the shop assistants. A familiar face rushed over and gave him a flattering smile. "Oh, young master, you're here. Please take a seat. Give me a jar of wine and cut me 600 g of beef and serve a few side dishes." Fang Yuan strode through the cafeteria and approached the window seat that he always sat at. The shop assistant showed a difficult expression. "Young master, my apologies, but during the last time the caravan came, the innkeeper sold all of the green bamboo wine. We do not have this wine here anymore." Fang Yuan nodded, not feeling surprised. "Then give me a jar of rice wine and tell the innkeeper, brew more green bamboo wine this year. I am pre-ordering 100 jars. As for how much the advance payment will be, you can count first and report to me." Now that the liquor worm was exposed and did not gather any suspicion, Fang Yuan did not have to be restrained in buying wine anymore. "All right, I will definitely convey your words. Please be at ease, young master." The shop assistant patted his chest, sounding confident. Soon the dishes were served. Fang Yuan drank and ate while staring out of the window. In such hot weather, especially during meal times, there were few people on the streets. The sunlight shone on the ground and the green-colored bamboo tall houses. A few barefooted mortal farmers carrying cement, steel spades or shoulder poles walked in front. They had just finished their farm work and were heading home. 2 children held the bamboo frame of their windmill toy and ran about. The one behind chased while crying and shouting. It seems that the boy in front had stolen his windmill toy. At this moment, 2 young goo masters wearing green belts walked hurriedly on the street. "Get lost, don't block the way." A goo master pushed the farmer in front of him. The farmers frantically gave way. HMPH. The 2 young goo masters walked through arrogantly. Fang Yuan looked with a distracted gaze in his eyes, as part of his mind was already focused on his aperture. Within the aperture, the water wall continued to flow as his green-copper primeval sea rose with raging waves. The liquor worm was playing around in his primeval sea, at times comfortably rolling around, and at times curling into a ball. The spring-autumn cicada was in deep slumber, hiding its appearance. The round body of the white boar goo spread its wings and drew circles in the sky. The white and black boar goo were equally well known, both being precious and rare rank 1 goo worms. Their market value was even greater than the liquor worm. Although they had the same usage and similar appearance, their future advancement routes were greatly different. The black boar goo and the green silk goo would combine into the rank 2 black mane goo, and then into the rank 3 steel mane goo. But the white boar goo was most compatible with the jade skin goo, where it would turn into rank 2 white jade goo, and later into the rank 3 heavenly mugwort goo. The steel mane goo could let the goo master's hair become tough as steel, raising both offense and defense. The heavenly mugwort goo allowed the goo master's body to become tough as white jade while at the same time reducing the damage from attacks such as the moonblade. Fang Yuan was slightly happy over this. Getting the white boar goo was just one aspect of it, but what made him truly happy was the flower wine monk's strength inheritance. The white boar goo can increase strength. The flower wine monk set a giant rock to block the way, so it seems I need to refine this goo and with enough strength, push the giant rock away and continue forward. This must be the first test. With the flower wine monk's meticulous setup, I can infer that there has to be future inheritance trials. a second or third hurdle. Most importantly, I can confirm that he set this strength inheritance not as a trap, but with true sincerity. With this inheritance, I can reach rank 3 faster and leave this Qingmao mountain, and venture outside, gaining greater opportunities. What does a Gu master need most in cultivating? The answer is but one word: resources. Fang Yuan needs to cultivate, thus he needs resources. But the clan's resources are limited, so if he wants more, he needs to fight for it. Not only fighting for resources, he also has to be victorious. To him, the more he fights and the more victories he obtained, the more he would reveal more of his trump cards and make others more wary. Wariness, when accumulated to an extent, would turn into suppression and hurdles blocking his path. Fang Yuan killed a family servant, but why did the Mo family stay indifferent? Robbing the classmates, why did their family not pursue it? Fang Yuan resisted the clan and refused to be part of the system, but why did the clan leader choose to be lenient? It is all because he is weak, because he is C grade. They feel strong and do not feel like bullying the weak. Under the family's system, being petty with the weak Fang Yuan not only causes them to face humiliation, it also makes others feel that the person is cold and unfeeling, ruining one's social relationships. Weakness was a safety umbrella that Fang Yuan had for now. But with his continued competition for resources, Fang Yuan would appear stronger. This would make everyone start being wary of him and begin to try recruiting him. No matter which side he chooses, he would face suppression and troubles from the other factions. Suppression and restrictions would drag down his growing speed. Fang Yuan was aware of his predicament. He was in a delicate position. He seemed to have offended everyone, but he had not violated any law in reality. Yet with time, his cultivation level will rise, and conflicts will arise and worsen. Fang Yuan knows that this conflict would escalate, but the later it escalated, the greater benefit he would gain. Thus, the flower wine monk's inheritance was perfectly timed. With this strength inheritance, he would have hidden resources. Using this, he could be free of the system's control and walk his own path, cultivating at his own speed and secretly accumulate strength. Once he was adopted into the system, he would need to side with a faction. Even if he did not want to compete, he would definitely be dragged into the political strife. Inside the system, one is a pawn. You first have to be a proper pawn for others to use you willingly. After they trust and use you, you have the chance to climb upwards, and even during that process, you have to be careful not to become a discarded pawn. Fang Yuan was clear of this procedure. He knew it too well. Even with his vast knowledge, there was nothing he could do to this situation. These were the rules. The more crucial part was his C-grade talent. To the clan, there was no desire in investing in him. Often he would be treated as a discarded pawn. The most optimum progress route was to work alone. This way, he could avoid most competition. Towards the higher-ups in the village, the image he had created earlier would be sustained. This world's matters, it is always easily done secretly but difficult to do openly. Using the flower wine monk's inheritance, I can cultivate and gather strength secretly without gaining attention and suppression. But the extortion has to continue, for if it stopped abruptly, it would invite suspicion, and I also need primeval stones. Fang Yuan considered his future plans. He really needed primeval stones. Other teenagers of his age had only started refining and feeding a second goo worm. He, however, had also refined the little light goo and recently acquired the white boar goo, thus having a total of 4 goo worms. Previously, he needed around 1 primeval stone a day just to feed the moonlight goo and liquor worm. Now, after calculating, he needed more than 2 pieces every day just as expenditure. If including his cultivating needs and living expenditures, he would need to use around 5 primeval stones a day. 5 primeval stones was enough to feed a family of 3 mortals for 5 months. On hand at the moment, he had several hundred primeval stones, but it was not enough to sustain such an expenditure in the long run. More importantly, the further he got, the greater his expenditure would be. Especially after advancing to rank 2, every time he tried combining goo worms, it would be cost a huge sum. Thinking of this, Fang Yuan felt troubled. The matter of primeval stones was a problem, and by relying on just extortion and the resources on hand, he could only delay this problem from erupting. Moreover, he had another problem, and that was the white boar goo's feeding. The white boar goo's food was pork. Boar obviously referred to pigs. The boar goo series food was all pork. Black and white boar goo had huge appetites. Every 5 days they would need to eat around one fully grown pig's amount of meat. Pork in this world was not cheap, and mortals could only afford to slaughter one during the New Year celebration and enjoy themselves. Without the large-scale cultivation technique of Earth, the price of pork and beef was not something mortals could eat often. At the same time, the topography of the Qingmao Mountain was precipitous, the area of residence narrow. How much space could be allocated just for rearing livestock? You eat what you can procure at where you live. The villagers were able to eat pork occasionally because of the hunters hunting wild boars in the mountains. It seems that I have to go hunting myself from now on for pork. Fang Yuan's eyes shone with a glint. Relying on the village to purchase pork, first was the expenditure of primeval stones. Second was that it would attract attention. Even if you loved eating pork, how could a person eat so much in such a short period? If he hunted himself, it would not only resolve this problem, but also alleviate his current financial stress. Shop assistant bill. Thinking of this, Fang Yuan hesitated no more, and after footing the bill, he left the inn. These few days the academy was on break so that the students could refine their second goo worm. Fang Yuan decided that he could use this time well. He would leave the village and scout the mountains, and then kill some wild boars and get himself some pork. The mountain forest was boundless, and Fang Yuan walked through patiently. The sunlight permeated through the huge and tall woods, shining and creating a ground of mottled and fragmentary tree shadows. The green grass beside his feet was like a mattress, and the wild flowers bloomed with bright colors. His ears picked up the sound of birds chirping or the trickling of flowing water. The further he got from the village, walking towards the outer surroundings, the more risky it was. Thus Fang Yuan was even more careful. The wilderness was very dangerous. Goo masters had to have at least rank 3 cultivation to be able to venture the wilds alone and explore. But this did not mean they were safe, as many rank 3 goo masters died in the wild, sometimes even rank 4s. Wild beasts, poisonous worms, human threats, and at times the weather, these were all causes of death. However, Fang Yuan wanted to kill the wild boars which were often found around the village's peripheral. Otherwise, the village hunters would not be able to catch wild boars. The environment around the village, every now and then, goo masters from the clan would come out and clear the area. This environment to a rank 1 middle stage like me is still safe, but I still have to be careful. Wild beasts and goo worms like to move around. With his experience from his previous life, Fang Yuan scouted carefully. Time gradually passed, but Fang Yuan gained nothing. Damn, Qingmao Mountain is still too big for the current me. I have no scouting type goo and I am not familiar with this environment. Plus Qingmao Mountain is periodically cleared up, so to find a wild boar, it is too difficult. Let's go to the foot of the mountain. Fang Yuan's scouting was unfruitful. Thus he changed his mind and went to the mountain foot. Qingmao Mountain has 3 mountain villages: Gu Yue Village, Xing Family Village, and Bai Family Village. The Xing Family Village was on the Fore Mountain, the Gu Yue Mountain Village was at the mountain waist, and Bai Family Village was at the back mountain waterfall. Other than the 3 villages, There was also tens of tiny villages at the mountain foot, all being inhabited by mortals. The three mountain villages split these small villages among themselves, being the ones controlling them behind the scenes. Once they lacked family servants, they would pick from these small villages. But they would not choose Gu masters. Nurturing a Gu master, they would only choose a clansman, even if they knew that among these mortals were people with talent. Although rare, they would still not use them. This world was heavily sided towards bloodline, and holding power among relatives was the political stability that the clan needed. In order to expand in size, many mountain villages had adopted outsiders into their system. Eventually, their power flowed out and caused internal conflicts, thus causing the entire clan to break down or weaken. No matter the world, political power was still based off military force. This is the truth. And troops are the brute force department representing strength. By controlling strength, one gains status and authority. Of course, the clan's rules are not ever constant. They also adopt new blood. Every year, there would be outsiders marrying into the clan, leaving their servant status, and the children they give birth to would be a Gu Yue, a new generation clansman. This is like connecting a tiny stream into a spring. Do not underestimate this stream, as without it, a spring would be still and eventually rot. With it, there would be life, and the spring would grow even stronger. Fang Yuan's previous servant Shen Kui was betting on this idea of marrying into a Gu Yue and leaving her servant status. Fang Yuan left the mountain, and after 30 minutes could see thick smoke rising from under the mountain. After a while, he could see a wide hill in his vision, and a village around that area beside a small river. The small villages around the vicinity were under the rule of the Gu Yue village. Although they were close by, the small villages were not as safe, thus requiring regular cleanup. For mortals to live in such conditions and manage to survive, to Fang Yuan, he naturally could accept such a fact. Oh, on the mountain path nearing the village, Fang Yuan sensitively found traces on the ground. His past experience told him that this was a wild boar's traces. Chase, Fang Yuan raised his spirits as he followed the clues, getting deeper into the mountains. Green moss spread over the stones, ancient juniper trees and tall pagoda trees completing the great forest. Under the strong light of the sun, the mountain woods of summer was even more profound and serene. The lush underbrush suddenly moved a little. A few deer eating the sumptuous grass looked up, vigilantly staring at the bushes, their ears twitching. The bushes that were half a man's height split apart, and a young man crawled out from within. His skin was pale and his black hair was short. He was wearing a modest linen shirt. It was Fang Yuan. Swoosh! A few wild deer were frightened, and their 4 thin limbs quickly moved, sprinting away. In a moment, they vanished from Fang Yuan's vision. These are female deer. Their fur can be shaved to make warm clothing, and deer meat is also some Gu worm's food. If it's a male deer, the antlers are most precious, and some are even necessary ingredients for a Gu worm's advancement. The wild was dangerous all over, and at the same time it had great treasures. Fang Yuan looked at the direction that they were escaping in, and retracted his gaze. His target was wild boars, not these deer. He continued moving. There was the sound of buzzing. Nearing these noises, Fang Yuan stopped in his tracks. Beehive. He looked forward and saw a beehive hanging on a tree. The bee's nest was massive. The size was that of a wicker basket. It appeared as a sort of grayish dark yellow color. Outside the bee nest was a few dozen bee soldiers flying around. Occasionally, a few worker bees would enter and exit. Beehive has honey, and honey is the bear strength Gu's food. Thus, the Xing family has great demand for honey. This beehive is only a small-sized one, and the chances of producing a Gu isn't high. If I had the bronze skin Gu, I could risk getting stabbed and collect the honey. What a pity, Fang Yuan thought. In this world, not all insects are goo. Goo are the spirit of the world, the body of the laws. How can it be so cheap? Among a swarm of insects, normally only the insect king is a goo. But that depends on their size and development, so if the swarm is too small, there is no goo either. Taking the beehive ahead as an example, because it is too small, there is a low chance of having a goo. Fang Yuan rooted around this beehive and continued forward. The traces of the wild boar was getting more evident, and Fang Yuan knew he was getting close to it. Thus he became more careful, as wild boars were very dangerous. Wild boars are not reared pig. When a mature wild boar fights with a tiger, the tiger may not win. In this mystical world, wild beasts are not simple too. Oh, this situation. When Fang Yuan finally found the wild boar, he saw that it had fallen into a huge pit. A sharpened green bamboo was situated at the bottom of the pit, where it had pierced the wild boar and was causing it to bleed. Seeing the accumulated blood in the pit, he could tell that the boar had already been in the trap for at least 15 minutes. But this wild boar continued to struggle, whimpering and howling, still full of life. This trap is obviously set by hunters. To think I'm reaping the rewards. Fang Yuan smiled, but his expression was grim. These traps threatened him too. If he had fallen into it, after half a quarter of an hour he would die. Although the village surroundings were cleared regularly, the hunters often came to hunt and set many traps. Some could be discerned, while others were designed to be hidden, and if Fang Yuan could not discover them, he might fall into the trap. Any area in this mountain could have a trap buried by the hunters, but among hunters, with every trap set they would inform each other on the location. It seems I have to find an old hunter's residence and find out about the trap locations from him, along with the surrounding wild beasts activity area, and with these intel, I would not have to search like trying to find a needle in a haystack. Fang Yuan thought internally. This was the problem of not having a scouting type of goo worm. But to find a good scouting type goo, it was not easy. In a short time, he could barely make do with a hunter's intel. With such a thought, Fang Yuan's wrist flicked and a moonblade flew out, easily hitting the wild boar. Whoosh! With a light ring, the entire moonblade cut through the boar's neck and caused a long and slender wound. Then, with a plop sound, a blood fountain spewed out from it. The spewing blood caused the wound to become bigger, and thus the blood fountain also enlarged. The boar screeched, thrashing about with the last of its energy, until its movements became smaller and smaller. Fang Yuan silently looked at the scene, his face calm. The wild boar's life faded as its eyes were staring wide and perfectly round, the muscles on its body twitching and the warm blood filling the trap hole, a thick smell of blood permeating the surrounding. Survival or death, this is the theme of nature, he sighed in his heart. At this point, human voices were heard. Second brother Wang, within our village, no one is better than you at hunting, especially killing wild boars. Your family's old Wang is the hunting king in the entire region. Who would not know of his great name? That's right, second brother Wang inherited the old hunter's abilities. To hunt a wild boar, it is naturally as good as caught. Second brother Wang, why didn't little sister Wang come with you today? After all the bootlicking, a grave and stern voice said, HMPH, hunting a wild boar, how can it show my true abilities? Today I want to kill 3 boars, you'll see. Ergu Dan, stop lusting after my sister or I'll thrash you. Ergu Dan retorted, men and women marry when they're of age. What's wrong with liking little sister Wang? Moreover, I'm not the only one. Which guy in your village doesn't also fancy her too? Second brother Wang, in my opinion you are also 19 already. You should marry a wife and have kids already. The voice spoke again. HMPH, I'm a true blue man, how can I lust after such a small temptation? One day, I will leave this Qingmao mountain and explore the world and learn about everything under the sky, that will truly be fitting of my manly status." Saying so, the 4 young hunters walked out of the forest. The leader hunter had a tall build, carrying a bow and arrow, his muscles bulging and his eyes full of spirit, showing a powerful aura. When he saw Fang Yuan, he frowned and screamed, Which village are you from, kid? How dare you try to take advantage of me, Wang Er? Quickly get lost. Get lost!" Hearing Wang Er's words, Fang Yuan immediately broke into a cold smirk and he brandished his palm in front of him. Swoosh! With a light sound, a blue-colored moonblade shot forward. At the same time, he put strength into his leg and rushed towards the 4 hunters. "Gu Master!" The hunters were stunned and shouted upon seeing the moonblade. The moonblade had already fired over, and they rushed to evade. Plunk! A person did not evade fast enough, and his right forearm was hit by the moonblade. Immediately his bones and flesh split, the entire wrist and his forearm cut through and fell on the ground. H. He laid on the ground, screaming in fear and pain. His left arm was like an eagle claw gripping his right arm. His right limb spewed bright red blood non-stop, quickly dyeing the floor red. "Spare me. We did not offend you intentionally." The other 2 mortals, on seeing their companion's state, went pale without a trace of blood in their face. They hurriedly got on all 4s and kneeled down, kowtowing to Fang Yuan non-stop. "HMPH, a bunch of fags, what are you afraid of? It's just a Gu disciple." Only Wang Er was still standing. Fang Yuan attacked without warning, and this had made him frightened and angry. His arms went behind his back, and with a swift action, he grabbed hold of the bow and arrow in his arms. "Stop, come further and I'll shoot you." Wang Er retreated as he readied the arrow while screaming. "Oh," Fang Yuan narrowed his eyes. This Wang Er was rather intractable. Normally when mortals saw Gu masters, they would be cowering in fear. Yet this man was able to remain calm. He must be rather bold. Pew! Another moonblade shot out towards Wang Er. Unappreciative bastard. Wang Er snorted and killing intent rose from his heart. He took a sidestep and evaded the moonblade while shooting an arrow. The arrow was fast, and with a swoosh, it reached Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan ducked, his head lowering slightly and evading the arrow as he continued rushing forward, quickly reaching Wang Er. Wang Er bravely threw away the bow in his hand and clenched his bowl-sized fist, rushing towards Fang Yuan. He had a large build, his back strong like a wolf's and his waist like a bee, and he was at least 50 centimeters taller than Fang Yuan. The sunlight shone from behind him, and as Fang Yuan rushed towards him, he could see a dark shadow hanging over his face, his eyes emitting killing intent like a wolf. "No! Stop quickly!" The 2 hunters, seeing that the 2 were going to collide into each other, frightfully shouted. "Die!" Wang Er's eyes were fierce as the muscles on his face twitched, showing his sinister and insane expression, like a bloodthirsty, evil wolf. Both his fists flew towards Fang Yuan. Boom! His fist was fast and heavy, even cutting the wind. Fang Yuan could see the fist getting bigger in his eyes, but his expression was unchanging as he took a side step. Swoosh! At the crucial moment, he avoided the fist and forcefully rotated his body, knocking Wang Er's left hand away. Wang Er laughed sinisterly as he waved his fist horizontally, his fist striking first, about to reach Fang Yuan's back. But at this moment, a bright flash of sunlight entered his iris. His back was originally facing the sun, and now that he had turned around, the eye-piercing sunlight temporarily made his eyes hurt, and his vision went blank. Fang Yuan smirked as he backflipped in the air, dodging Wang Er's fist, at the same time waving his right arm. Pew! The 3rd moonblade flew along the sunlight trajectory. Wang Er's senses tingled as he felt unprecedented danger. He turned his head around, and the next moment, the eerie blue moonblade flew past. Be careful, brother Wang Er. Did he avoid it? The two kneeling on the ground forgot to beg for forgiveness at this moment, staring widely. The piercing sunlight shone on their face. At this moment, time seemed to slow down. The surrounding sound vanished, and the world was silent. The afternoon's blazing sun paved a white background, and on this backdrop, Wang Er's body became a black shadow. His body was in the air at an arc, his muscular body stretching in a crescent shape like an open bow, full of masculine appeal. His head lowered as he tried to avoid the moonblade. The moonblade flew like a snail in the air, its eerie blue light almost invisible under the sun's rays. The white background, the black shadow, and the blue moonblade, these three formed a brilliant stage for a moment full of life and death. The moonblade flew over. The shadow that represented Wang Er landed smoothly as it flowed with the trajectory. He was safe and sound. Phew, seeing this, a young hunter breathed out a sigh of relief. He avoided it. Another hunter was cheering internally. But at this time, a small piece of the shadow's head flew out along with red fluids, separating from the shadow and spewing everywhere. The blue moonblade gradually dissipated in the air. That black shadow was like a broken bow, as the energy accumulated within it disappeared at once. It turned into a beautiful but sad fallen leaf, silently landing on the ground. The two hunters' irises shrunk into pin size. Their mouths were agape, stretching to their bodily limits. Splat! The bright red fluid landed on their faces. The two touched their faces. Blood! They jolted awake. In their perception, time had returned to normal, and noise returned. There were birds chirping, water flowing, and their companion screaming while grabbing his broken arms. Second brother Wang, a hunter called, his voice full of horror. All this time Wang Er was their leader. He's dead, another hunter cried out, his face grim to the limit. Brother Wang Er is our strongest hunter. A while ago he was still talking with us, but to think the next moment he's dead. He should not have angered that Gu master. We mortals are no match for Gu masters. The two hunters were frightened and shocked. At once they were like statues kneeling on the ground. Fang Yuan got up from the ground. Earlier, to avoid Wang Er's fist, he rotated his body in the air and lost his balance. After shooting the moonblade, he fell to the ground. But this fall was worth it, as Wang Er's fist would have caused him to vomit blood on the spot. After all, Fang Yuan had no defensive gu, and his body was only a 15-year-old. Now he stood up. Other than his shoulders hurting, he had practically no injuries. This Wang Er is very strong, much stronger than that Mo family servant Gao Wan. If any other student encountered him, they would lose without doubt. Even a rank 1 upper stage Gu master would lose to him out of carelessness. Fang Yuan stared at the corpse of Wang Er deeply. Gu masters were still threatened by genius mortal martial artists when they are at rank 1 stage. This Wang Er was truly skilled. His archery skill was fast and stable, just relying on this it could match Moonblade. In fact, the Moonblade might even be inferior as the arrow has a larger range. His fighting skill has reached the peak of mortals, a strong body with tough bones, and he was also ruthless. With Fang Yuan's small body, it could not go head-to-head with him. Thus, any other student would lose undoubtedly. Unfortunately for Wang Er, he met Fang Yuan. Once he appeared, Fang Yuan noticed his bow and deduced that he could not fight long range with him. The Moonblade only had a range of 10 meters. The bow had far greater range than the Moonblade. Thus, Fang Yuan ditched long combat. He quickly got closer and closed the gap between them, showing a physical fighting stance. Wang Er had no choice but to discard his bow and fight physically with Fang Yuan. But Fang Yuan did not really think of going close combat with Wang Er. He used the angle of the sun's rays and caused a weakness in Wang Er before shooting out his third Moonblade. He was already middle stage now, and with the liquor worm's refinement, the Moonblade had the attack power of an upper stage goo master. At such a close range, with Wang Er's weakened vision, his defeat was guaranteed. But this Wang Er is indeed skillful. I wanted to decapitate him, but at the crucial moment, he relied on his senses and reflexes and evaded half of my attack, causing my Moonblade to cut off only half of his head. Life and death is nature's law. All living beings are equal, and everyone has their right to survive and be killed. There might be royalty and lower beings, but in face of death, a person's death is no different from a pig's. What's the difference? They're both dead. Fang Yuan took a final look at Wang Er's corpse and sighed in his heart. The tree roots penetrate into the mountain soil, letting their green hands reach up towards the sky. Thick and solid tree trunks faced each other, looking similar through the distances. The exuberant branches and leaves intertwined in midair. Under the surroundings of these trees was a wooden house. The wooden house was made entirely from the solid, thick barks, leaking out a type of genuine firm smell. The wooden house was not a newly built one, but it had gathered many years. Thus the house surface had green moss growing all over, and some of the tree trunks had begun to sprout out tender little branches. Around the wooden house was a tall and great fence constructed from green spear bamboo. The back and front area was all vegetable fields, and in the middle of the fields was a man-made well. At this time, a young and beautiful lady was drawing water from the well. While she wore simple and plain clothing, this was still hard to mask her complexion. She was 16 years of age, and she had a big pair of black eyes, the black and whites of her eyes clearly defined and pure like crystals. The sunlight penetrated through the overlapping and luxuriant tree leaves, shining onto her face, letting her skin reflect light like it was white snow, also showing a sort of transparent red flush and gentleness on her. Her black hair hung down unruly and half covered her cute earlobes. The pink lips were pursed at the moment, and she was clenching her set of white perfect teeth, her face showing an expression of full concentration. She used all her strength to pull the bucket full of water out of the well. With another breath, she moved the bucket to the ground outside the well. Huff, the young girl wiped her forehead and breathed out, using her pale hand to fan her own face. Hearing the bucket hitting the ground, the wooden house's door opened, and an old man came out. The old man's hair was a mix of black and white, his face having layers of wrinkles. Although his eyes looked tired, they showed a hint of brilliance sometimes. Like an elderly tiger, although old, the tiger's authority was still evident. "Lass, this bucket is too heavy," I said. "Let me carry it. Why are you secretly watering the plants behind my back again?" The elderly looked at the young girl and showed an expression of doting affection. "Father," the young girl sweetly called, "you were hunting until late at night yesterday. I wanted you to sleep in later today. It's just a water bucket, look, I can carry it out right. You, always loving to act tough." The old man's voice was full of helplessness, but his eyes were once again doting on her. He took a large step and got to the well, stretching out his hand and easily grabbing the bucket. "Come, lass, let's water the plants together." The air was full of the smell of wild grass and flowers, and the summer's wind blew warmly and passed by the trees, turning into a gust of refreshing wind. The wooden house on the mountain had a vegetable field, and the girl used the pail, lowering her back to water the plants. The father was in charge of getting the water, rotating between two water buckets. The atmosphere of a loving family was evident in this tiny space. "Sigh, I am too old, just a few buckets and I am already exhausted." After a while, the old man stood by the well, wiping the sweat off his forehead and sighing deeply. The young girl turned her head back, smiling like flowers, saying, "Father, you finally realized it. You're already so old, yet you want to act tough all the time. How many times have I told you, let second brother do the hunting? You should be resting at home, enjoying your life at this age." Heh, the old man laughed, nodding. Relying on your second brother's abilities, he can roam this mountain easily. With his archery skills, it even surpasses me in my youth. But I still cannot feel at ease. His heart is too wild, and with just martial art skills, he wants to soar. Sigh, young men love to imagine freely. They all have this problem. Father, the young girl dragged her words. The old man laughed even more heartily now, his tone carrying a mischievous hint. Oh yeah, there's still you. You're not young anymore, it's time to get married. I have found a good partner for you, and with your good looks, there's no problems with finding a good family. The girl's face grew red like a tomato. Immediately she felt too embarrassed until she was lost for words. The old man looked at the sky, imagining the great future as he sighed. Once your second brother suffers some setbacks and curbs his nature, I will retire and never go into the mountains. Next I will find you a good family and watch you marry and have children, preferably a chubby boy. Heh heh, your father wants to take care of his grandson, that's all I want. A person's life is not easy, and as a hunter, how many can have a good ending? Say, all my partners and comrades from back then are already gone. I am all that's left. Father, you are wrong, the young girl consoled. What do you mean there's only you left? You still have us. Hum. The old man was laughing and was about to reply, but he suddenly heard a sound and turned his head. The little entrance of the bamboo fence was broken from the outside by someone. You are old man Wang. Fang Yuan's cold expression with his eerie eyes stepped forward with a lump of moonlight in his right arm. The old man was shocked as he looked at the moonlight on Fang Yuan's hand, rapidly kneeling. This old man pays his respects to Lord Gu Master. Old man Wang, your son dared to offend me. I have executed him. Bring his corpse forward. Fang Yuan stood proudly, staring at the kneeling old man as he brought out the main topic. His words had just finished, and two young hunters carried Wang Er's corpse in. Seeing this corpse, old man Wang's body shook. Second brother, the young girl screamed pitifully, rushing forward and grabbing Wang Er's corpse, her face flushed with tears. Wang family's daughter, the two young hunters, seeing the girl they liked crying in front of them, felt terrible. They wanted to console her, but no words came out. Old man Wang, I heard you're a hunter, the best among the few villages. At such an old age, you can still hunt and get a good result every time. This is great. Fang Yuan paused here for a moment and continued expressionlessly. Draw me a map of all the traps of the nearby mountain area now, as well as the results of your observation of wild beast territories from your hunting experience all these years. Draw it for me and I will spare your son's sin of offending me, if not. HMPH. These villages were under Gu Yue village's control. The villagers were all farmer slaves of the Gu Yue clan. With Wang Er's offense for offending his master, according to the clan rules, their entire family would be implicated. Old man Wang's body shook again, almost falling to the ground. An impact like this was too sudden and great to him. Murderer, you are the murderer that harmed my brother. You treat human lives like livestock and you dare to confront us. I will exact revenge for my brother. The young girl screamed, her voice full of hatred and anger towards Fang Yuan, and she rushed towards Fang Yuan. But she was only halfway there when she got stopped by someone. It was not the two young hunters, but her father. Disgraceful wretch! Old man Wang screamed as he gave the young girl a tight slap, sending her to the ground. Your second brother is dead. Do you want to die too? Do you want this old father of yours to be old and alone forever? The old man cried profusely saying this, his body trembling furiously. Father, the young girl was awakened by this and her tears poured out. Her voice was full of sadness, unjust, pity, hatred, and helplessness. The old man turned his body, facing Fang Yuan as he kneeled down and placed his forehead on the ground, prostrating deeply at Fang Yuan's feet. His voice shook as he said, Lord Gu Master, my son offended you and deserved to die. I shall draw the map for you now. Please spare us with your magnanimity." Fang Yuan's expression turned milder. He looked at the old man arrogantly, saying, "Be at ease, as long as you draw honestly, I will spare you. But don't think of lying to me, for if I find any suspicious points, your lives will be forfeited." "I understand, this old man understands." Old man Wang kowtowed nonstop. "Please, Lord Gu Master, allow me to retrieve my brush and paper." "No need." Fang Yuan waved his hand, looking at the two hunters he had forced along, ordering, "Enter the room and find paper and brush and bring them out." "Yes, Lord Gu Master." The two youngsters did not dare to rebel under Fang Yuan's authority. "Lord, the paper and brush are on the square table in the kitchen," Old man Wang said. Fang Yuan's eyes shone, but he remained silent. The two hunters barged into the house and quickly brought out the paper and brush. In the Southern Territory, the paper were specially made of bamboo, where the quality was bad and the paper was tough with green overlays. Paper like this was suited to the moist weather of the Southern Territorial weather. If it was rice paper, it might be destroyed after a week due to moisture. The old man carried the brush and kneeled on the ground, drawing out black lines, curves, or dots. He used over 10 bamboo papers before handing them all to Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan looked through them and split these bamboo papers into two, handing them to the two hunters. "Take a look if there's any inappropriate areas. Every mistake, I'll give you one primeval stone." The two hunters took the bamboo papers, their hands trembling, eyes shining. This is Hunter Wang's life experience and effort. Us hunters, although we keep in contact, it is all about trap placement. We will not tell others about the wild beast distribution. This bamboo paper, it is all the information that Hunter Wang had gathered since his ancestors. "So this valley has a herd of wild deer, haha. After I hunt these wild deer, I won't have to worry about expenses for the next 3 months. Ah, this stream has a cave of mountain bears. How close! I almost hunted at this region last time. Note it, I must note it all down." These were precious information. It could be said to be a hunter's rice bowl. Normally not within a generation, but all the way from their forefathers. These experiences and information were obtained at the expense of their blood and lives. But Old Man Wang's family had always hunted for a living. When it got to Old Man Wang, he had reached the peak of his family line, the acclaimed #1 hunter. Information in the hands of such a person is the most useful and truthful. The two young hunters checked for nearly 15 minutes, glossing through the map multiple times. Only after Fang Yuan rushed them did they finally hand over the bamboo paper reluctantly. During this period, Old Man Wang was kneeling on the ground, his forehead touching the ground as he expressed his respect. The young girl was lying on the ground, as if she had gone lifeless. "There is no problem, Lord. The trap areas in these bamboo papers are all accurate." The two answered, "Lord Gu Master, this concerns me and my daughter's life. I would definitely not lie to you." The old man on the ground shouted as he continued to kowtow. Not bad." Fang Yuan waved the stack of bamboo paper, yet suddenly his words changed. "But I don't believe it." Old Man Wang jolted, raising his head, but only saw an eerie blue moonblade enlarging within the reflection of his iris. Pew! A skull flew into the air, fresh blood spewing all over. "Arg! Lord, this!" The two young hunters were taken by surprise. Shock and disbelief showed on their faces. "Father!" the young girl cried out profusely as she leapt towards Old Man Wang's headless corpse, but midway, a moonblade flew towards her face. Splat! She fell onto the ground, lifeless. Her beautiful face, from her forehead to her chin, slowly showed a thin red line. The line became thicker as fresh red blood oozed out, flowing down along half of her nose and half of her lips. They flowed onto the black soil, dyeing half of her face bright red. The other half of her face, though, was still as beautiful, the skin fair and rosy. Under the bright blue sky, it seemed even more lustrous, like a work of art. At least she looks decent. Fang Yuan looked at the dead girl blandly, nodding satisfactorily. Using rank 1 middle stage primeval essence, the Moonblade could slice goo. Now that he was using upper stage primeval essence, it could break bones and even cut steel. Wang family's daughter. A young hunter fell onto the ground in despair after seeing her demise with his own eyes. Lord Gu Master, spare us. The other hunter, feeling Fang Yuan's phase, nearly died of shock as he plopped on the ground. Get up, go inside and search, Fang Yuan ordered. I know that a hunter's family always keeps a beast skin map. On top of it is the terrain, trap locations, and the beast territories. Find it for me, and I'll let you keep your lives. Yes, 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 we will search immediately. Give us some time, Lord Gu Master. The two frantically got up and ran into the wooden house. Sounds of wardrobes overturning and falling could be heard from the wooden house. But a moment later, even though the hunters ransacked the house, there was no beast skin map to be found. Lord, please give me some time. We will find it right now. The two hunters were terrified as they got more desperate and searched boorishly, smashing many furniture in the process. Fuck, where is it? Appear, please appear. They muttered as their bodies shivered, their eyes getting bloodshot. Useless trash. Fang Yuan slowly walked into the house. Lord, Lord, forgive us, please. Wah. The two young hunters shivered like they were electrified and fell to the ground, begging for their lives. Fang Yuan ignored the two and observed the house. There were 4 rooms in the house, a living room and a kitchen. All the furniture were in a mess, like they were ransacked. Fang Yuan slowly stepped in, his steps producing echoes in the wooden house. It has indeed been searched. That shouldn't be right. Almost every hunter has a beast skin map inherited throughout the generations, getting refined along the way, recording all the beast's territory and pitfalls. This is the livelihood of a hunter. How can they not have it? Fang Yuan stood pondering. Moreover, I tested that old man Wang earlier, purposely getting the two hunters to search for paper and brush. The old man immediately called out the location of the paper and brush, probably worried that they might find the beast skin map, thus it has to be in this house. Fang Yuan observed the house again, and suddenly his inspiration struck as he looked at the fire pit. This fire pit was connected to the chimney, used in winter to gain warmth. There was even some residue charcoal in the fire pit. Fang Yuan walked to the fire pit, slowly squatting down and taking a shovel beside the fire pit, digging out the charcoal. Most of the charcoal still has their wooden shape. They were brittle and easily broken into two. Oh, Fang Yuan inspected, suddenly finding a charcoal block that had a very tough material and was very heavy, not light like the other charcoal blocks. He used the shovel to dig out this charcoal block, smashing it on the ground. The charcoal smashed into bits, revealing a bamboo tube. The two hunters gasped at this scene. Fang Yuan took the bamboo tube and opened it on one side, shaking it, causing a map to fall out. The map was heavier than the stack of bamboo paper, made with a piece of white beast skin. The beast skin was huge, over 1 meter long and half a meter in breadth. There was black, green, red, yellow, and blue lines on it, forming a complicated map. Fang Yuan was slightly taken aback looking at it. The map's range was very big, extending far beyond the village's vicinity. As a mortal, it was not easy to map out areas so far away. His gaze focused on 5 spots, those with wild boar herds. 2 were small-sized, 2 were medium-sized, and there was a large-sized boar herd. In the middle of the large-sized herd, there was a giant red cross. Seeing this cross, Fang Yuan snickered. On his bamboo paper there was no such marking. The two young hunters had also seen the bamboo paper and found no problems. This was their own inexperience, only certain of some areas. This red cross was far beyond the village, and from this, old man Wang's cunningness could be seen. This was why Fang Yuan killed them. To hunt for wild boars, he needed such a beast skin map, but he was not convinced by a map drawn by others. Only getting a real map like this could it be dependable. Fang Yuan had heard of all sorts of remarks in his past life. Just a word scram was not enough reason for him to kill Wang Er. When hearing the four hunters' conversation beside the boar trap, Fang Yuan had already planned his murder. Killing Wang Er reduced his opposition and gave him reason to obtain the map. Why wouldn't he kill him? Fang Yuan would not kill for the sake of killing. Killing is only a method. Using this method, if it can solve the problem, then why not? The old man definitely had to die. Even if he can endure the murder of his son, Fang Yuan would not be at ease. Otherwise, it would be a case of when cutting down weeds, you must get at the roots. Otherwise, the weeds will return with the spring breeze. What you said, killing the innocent. No matter which world, as long as one lives in this world, they would be intertwined in karma. How can anyone be innocent? Humans slaughter pigs, aren't the pigs innocent? Big fish eat small fish, and small fish eat shrimps. In nature there is only the food chain, there is no innocence. In this world, anybody can live, anybody can die, but nobody is innocent.